What is up, y'all? This is gonna be fast because I want to get in to queue myself up as soon as possible. I should be grading papers, but I cannot help myself. I am instead going to be having possibly a conversation with someone. I'll put myself in the queue because someone in Discord said I should go and join. And so surprise debates. Woo-hoo. What is up, y'all? Yes, speaking of which, we'll do the spiel and then I'm going in. I hope you're all having a fantastic week. And we are impromptu debate Ewing, where we are about to go head to head. Maybe a good conversation. We'll see. Anyway, please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. I said it, YouTube there. I said it. And then hit that bell icon to all. And yes, sending love out to all of the skeptic and ranting community, everyone out there who is amazing, our mods. And then I'm going to send out to Chris and Dale and davegar and Rachel and Ian and Regis and Azos and Moi. And all right, I really am going. In fact, if you hit that bell icon to all, you can say hi, and I can say hi. Like, what's up, Doorknob Head? What's up, Ember? What's up, Dave? I love you all. Sending so much love to you. Ooh, I love that picture. And all right, I'm going to unmute. He's on Twitter. So I am going to, I guess, go on Twitter and share it. And then raise my hand.
Article that really solidifies this.
Sending love to James W. as well. And everyone out there.
Copy that. All right, you could definitely move on to someone else. You answered.
Hey, thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Those are good questions, and I'm always happy to answer
let's get my hand raised up.
It's just the fuller, those are every single issue there is kind of its own podcast, right? So like papacy is its own podcast, filioque is its own whole podcast. So anyway,
I guess we'll do commentary into that.
Monolithic ethos.
Hello.
Hey.
AJ Dyer. I have a question regarding like Eastern Orthodox, and like this is like this not like it's just mainly a question of me trying to understand, and this is me like grasping like
is that coming through for you guys?
I see this is not me trying to generalize all Orthodox people, but mainly like the big people online, not you, but like for example, Rachel Wilson and was it who's that guy? So like I noticed like this Orthodox sort of rejection of like the Enlightenment sort of ideals that built America, and here's like the thing. Do you think Eastern Orthodox Christianity would align with American values in a sense, like for example, how it was envisioned by like the founding fathers of like human rights and like like free speech and stuff like that? Because I see a lot of like, for example, like Jeff Younger rejecting capitalism, like, and I see a lot of like some like online Eastern Orthodox people sort of embrace some sort of like collectivist and hyper.
I think you just have to be really precise. I mean, the answer is yes and no. So I think you have to be really precise about what elements we're talking about. So like, is there a wholesale rejection of every element of capitalism? No. So, I mean, you would have private property. I mean, the 10 Commandments guards private property by saying that you can't steal. Well, stealing presupposes that people have private property. Is there this notion of self-evident quote rights by natural law? I think you could question that. I don't see where in Enlightenment philosophy there's a justification for self-evident rights that isn't tied to some metaphysic. And I think Christianity really is the only guardian and inheritor of metaphysics, since the Enlightenment is really premised on rejecting metaphysics. I mean, Kant, Hume, I mean, they're really setting up their situation and just outright rejecting metaphysics. And the problem is that when you start talking about rights, when you start talking about choice, that we have choice based on dignity and human rights, human dignity, those are metaphysical terms. Those are value judgments that you're making, and you're not going to have a way to justify those on the Enlightenment principles themselves.
Okay, so like so you're saying like there's some aspects that wouldn't align to like what like Greek compatible for like American virtues, you know, because like America was like founded by like Anglo-Saxon like Protestants, and there's aspects of like American liberalism that sort of fits
Good
in
old
that
Diaz.
category.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you'd have to be more precise than just saying sort of generic phrases. I'm not faulting you. I'm just saying like it requires more precision than just saying quote American values. I mean, what is that? What is that, like the original,
Okay,
you know,
what
principles
about
of enlightenment, or is
okay, let's say free will, like for example, right? Like
okay? But again,
a lot.
that's making my point that that's a metaphysical claim.
Okay, then.
I mean, what's free will on an enlightenment account?
Like the stance on like for example, like not like forcing someone to abide by some sort of living standard. Like if like some like for example,
Well,
like
that's not Christian. That's not Christian at all. I mean, in other words, there should be, for example, you know, public moral evils should be outlawed. So how could you have no enforced standard? That's actually impossible.
Now the question is, how do we decide those?
I mean, for example, should it be illegal for people to live in sister-brother marriage situations? Are you there?
yeah, but like for like,
If it can
like,
hurt
for
someone
example,
else.
like like
If it can make children,
premarital
that's why
sex,
we
stuff
bring
like
that up.
regarding like which like you're dealing with something those degenerate, like that is like not other people's business, for example.
Well, no, I think there are distinctions between gravity of sins and gravity of issues. And so not everything is a public crime. But most countries, most places, unless they're Islamic, think of, you know, marrying a very close relative or a mom or a dad as a crime ultimately. So I agree with you. Not every sin is a crime, but certain sins are
Unless you're Adam and
egregious enough
Eve.
to be crimes. And that's where
Unless you're
you have to be more
Noah.
precise, right? So no, I don't think that we would make you know, teenagers fooling around into some sort of like
The religious
you
seem
know,
to like it a lot.
punishable by death crime. I mean, I
At
think it
least
would
they
be
did.
you would have laxity on the basis of how egregious the crime is.
Oh, and my final question is like Rachel Wilson claims to be like Eastern Orthodox, and she sort of uses it like to try to justify getting rid of the 19th Amendment. Now, from my research, like there has been like Christians who are like pro 19th Amendment. Like there's some, especially with the Quakers and stuff like that. Like
Okay, well, but we don't accept any of those people as Christians. Those are total heretics to us. So we have absolutely no care at all what Quakers.
They are doorknob head.
Quakers are absolute lunatics, and in fact, Quakers are some of the first feminists.
Amber.
So that's actually a really bad example.
Just ask your invisible friend.
I mean, Quakers thought women could like literally. I mean, law and law theory and the codification of law and the application of law is super duper complex. There's not any kind of like easy, you know, one-line answers to those kinds of questions.
Oh,
like you have to really, it's just its own whole discipline of, and it has to bring in a lot of history. And that's why in scripture, for example, you know, Solomon is called really wise because he was able not just to know law, but to apply it in a wise way. So there's also an element of the virtuous person is essential to law, and that judges and people who rule in society have to have and should have a degree of personal virtue. Does that make sense? When like you can't just think of it in an abstract sort of, well, is this always right or is it always wrong? I mean, sometimes you can think of that if it's something egregious, like, you know, having intimate relationships with animals. Obviously, that's a public crime. That should be illegal. And it doesn't work to have the pseudo libertarian justification that, well, who are you to say what can happen in somebody's bedroom? Yeah, because crimes can be committed in bedrooms. So, duh. That's how silly this is. It was in my bedroom. It doesn't count. You don't have any right in my bedroom. Well, it depends on what you're doing. I mean,
Consenting
if
adults.
you are
Yes.
taking underage people to your bedroom and doing illegal things to them, then yeah, what happens in your bedroom actually
Let's
does
have
matter.
a good one.
Libertarians come up with these really arbitrary defenses and like walls that they have no justification for. And it's all premised too, when I was debating with that overweight Calvinist man, where actually I bit my tongue and didn't go into a debate because I was on somebody else's platform. I really wanted to debate bad though. And what you notice is that all of the Protestant evangelical approach to church state is always premised on the assumption that there's not a church. Obviously, first of all, because of Protestantism, but also because they will say things like, well, you know, the American system and its Enlightenment Protestant ethos might have laws about things like, you know, you can't, I'm trying to think of something, like you can't infringe upon religion, okay? But the state can't say anything then about theology or religion. But now, wait a minute. That's impossible. Because as soon as we start saying that certain things are crimes, like animal relations or something like that, or brother-sister
Other
relations,
animals can't consent.
we're already on theological territory. So it's an impossible,
Children
ridiculous
can't
position.
consent.
And they haven't really thought this through, because they're correct to say that, well, if you start going down that route, then you're going to have a recognized church.
I feel like theists make morality
That's
hard.
where it leads. Exactly. And they pretend like we don't want that because we have disestablishmentarianism. Yeah, but you're completely divorced from all the history of the church. We don't care. Yeah, I'm sure you don't, right? Because you don't have the church. Exactly.
Also, like anything, just question their first principles. So if their first principles map, what if I just say, I don't acknowledge that?
If it's what? Oh,
NAP.
NAP?
NAP is their first principle.
Yeah, why are we supposed to believe or follow NAP? Especially on Enlightenment principles, because, I mean, why can't I be the quiz outside of rock and just crush everyone?
And then it goes back to further first principles, which means it's not actually a first principle.
I'm waiting, but I'll
Descartes,
just say something
right?
soon.
Exactly.
You find out that his cogito is like based on a whole other bunch of assumptions and not first at all, which are super dubitable, no pun intended. But it's premised on this idea that that freedom's the highest virtue.
Exactly. And that means freedom
good,
of worship, freedom of conscience. Right. And so in other words, they tie
I like freedom and compassion.
Freedom of worship, freedom of conscience position
I
to
find both
church-state relations.
go hand in
and that's
hand.
actually their governing principle. Well, now wait a minute. What if heresy also is a public crime? But they don't have any conception of that.
And by the way, libertarians are to blame for all the crazy woke left degeneracy and destruction of society. Like, how do you think that stuff came in here?
I was gonna say that's as good as any for me to speak.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Fine. What's up?
I'm doing pretty good. I figured I'd talk religion. Maybe we can learn about each other's ideas.
What did you want to talk about?
Sure. So I guess I am generally skeptical of religion. So I guess I would want to know why you believe what you believe.
Well, there's a buzzsaw in the back.
I'm really skeptical of religion. So I guess I would want to know why you believe what you believe. Like root that.
Well, there's a buzzsaw in the background, so I can't hear when you're talking. Well, I would say that if you are coming from an atheist perspective, we believe in our position on the basis of philosophically, it's a transcendental argument would be the philosophical argument, but as to why Jesus is the Messiah or something like that, I would say look at the Messianic prophecies. I did a live stream, a 2-hour live stream a couple years back on the Messianic prophecies.
Okay, I mean, I would love to talk about
Forum,
either the
who has been waiting?
transcendental.
So we got a lot of people have been waiting. Dan left.
Oh, you just put me right back.
Kyle.
In.
By the way, can I just answer?
Never got to actually give a
Christian
rebuttal.
Comment,
but okay.
That we all have these kind of standards or rules by which you're using to make judgments. Sounds like the last lady, Amy, was saying her rule is skepticism, but have you ever been skeptical of your skepticism?
Why, yes, I have. Don't know if they just put me back down there, so they're not going to me. Is this going to be a whole stream where...
I brought them in. I lost where they went. I guess he dropped off. Keanu. I need a gun. Whoa. Keanu Reeves, what's up, man? Wild stallion.
I just want to say, there's not even a debate. You can't even debate it. If you think about where we come from, who created us, who created the world, ne? And mostly people believe in the Big Bang and everything happened from the Big Bang, and we are like coming from the apes, you know, and all of those stuff. And I think in people were brought up or like raised, you know, under different type of mindsets, you know, and I think that it also plays most, you know, a big role, you know, into what's going on in the world right now.
All right, yeah, thank you for those comments. I agree. I mean, people typically believe, you know, Darwinism, all that stuff because of upbringing, not because of the science and spending all their time in the lab.
What?
Ian, what's up, man? I spent 23 years in a lab.
That was a little weird. Feel like he just tried to deny evolution there. Just brushed it off.
Was it a windy ghost joining us?
Hey there, Jay.
So
I've got a buddy who's Seventh-day Adventist. Do you have any particular qualms with? He's got a hang up on Saturday Sabbath and following basically Old Covenant doctrine.
Well, yeah, I mean, the hang up is that it's totally arbitrary and inconsistent. They follow a woman fraud prophet who claimed to speak in tongues and have charismatic gifts.
Oh, he's a precept?
I mean, it's
oh,
just,
that explains
I mean,
everything.
It should be absurd on the face of it because it's a restorationist type of movement. So it's not the true church. The gates of hell thus prevailed against the church. If that group is true, violating Matthew 16. They can't give it a coherent account of the canon of scripture. So I would run all of the same Protestant arguments that we always run. I would not get into back and forth, throwing scripture back and forth about the seventh day, although the Orthodox Church, by the way, does honor the seventh day at Vespers. But the church worshipped on the first day.
That was so fast that I'm still trying to process.
But don't get into that. Just say, look, you're not even.
I got to ask him a question. I guess if it's a Q&A.
That.
But I thought it was a debate.
An insane woman that automatically should cancel it out right there. Kyle G, what's up?
What does it mean? That went as fast as prom night is what I guess I'm trying to say.
A little bit of a reminder too. We had a funny thing today happen, which was that. So Sneeko had followed me after the debate. He might be regretting following me now because you'll notice he put up a tweet. Let's see if I can. It's not showing up because he deleted it, but. He said,
I should
Jesus
know who this person is. Someone told me they're an Orthodox Christian, and that's really all I know about them.
To love the Lord your God, the Lord is one. Well, but the problem is that if you're going to cite Deuteronomy and Jesus citing Deuteronomy, Jesus also calls God his Father. And so that proves that Allah is not Jesus's God because Allah has no sons. Sneeko deleted the text. Beyond that, the other argument was that the same text says, wait a minute, Mark, he's saying the Gospel of Mark, right? Well, the Gospel of Mark, Jesus claims to be God when he says that he has the power on earth to forgive sins. And by the way, if the Bible is corrupt, then why are you using Mark 12:29? And then somebody said, we are just showing your Bible corrupt and contradict. Oh, well, that's even worse for you, because 547, the Quran, says that the gospel, the Injil, and the Torah before it are what we would use as Christians to judge the revelation of the Quran. So that's even worse for you, because your Quran is telling me to go to a corrupt book to try to confirm the Quran. So this is how stupid this is. It doesn't matter how many times we hit refresh on this argument, like they still don't get it. But so then again, funny part is that Sneeko deleted the tweet because he was starting to get so many comments talking about how this was a bad argument that he deleted it. So I thought that was funny. What's up, man? Kyle,
Oh, I get the order now. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
just
here.
put you
What's
back
up,
in a
brother?
line.
Yo.
Hey, I have two kind of totally different questions. I'm a Roman Catholic, and I found you with your debate with Sam Shamoon, and oh man, you and Father Ness definitely got me thinking some sort of way. But I had a question on how does the transcendental argument fall to Jesus? I can't make the connection. I can make the connection to a God as a whole, but it's hard for me to like incorporate the triune.
Well, you need
God.
a certain type. You need a specific type of God. Okay, so if you look up my stream, where I went into, I argued against Phaser, and let's see, it's that stream where I go more precise into the topic of. Let me find it. Here it is. It's called Philosophy, Universals, and Divine Conceptualism. Phaser, Aristotle, and Augustine. If you look at that live stream, I go into how we get to Trinity there. And I think I did another one called Top 10 Arguments Against Tag Refuted, where I go into how we get to Tag from there. So in other words, there's no such thing as just a God. That doesn't exist. You need some kind of content and explanation of who that God is and the metaphysics of that Christian worldview to actually do the grounding work. So I don't know if you heard the first guy that called in. The very first guy that called in today said, why can't it just be a God? And I'm like, that tells us nothing. There's no such thing as just a God.
Okay, no, I wasn't here for that. But that's sort of like the same thing I've been wrestling with too. So I'll go back and watch those two clips.
Maybe I need to do a new stream and and update this, because this was these were like 3 years ago when we did this.
And that's why tag's not. It's not an argument for a term or a word.
Yeah,
it's an entire paradigm. So, Jay and I've talked about this. I've written papers. The term God, first of all, is equivocal. It means different things. Number two, in the philosophy of logic and language, it's called a flaccid designator. It means it doesn't necessarily pick out anything specific, like Samuel Clemens would. The name Samuel Clemens. So it's not what we call a rigid designator. So when it comes to language, it's really interesting. Language is intending to refer to objects, entities, properties, states of affairs. And philosophers started inquiring into that. Well, how does it do it? When does it succeed? When do words succeed in hitting their intended referent? And when do they fail? And so what we see is that the term God, there is no generic kind of lowest common denominator that refers to anything.
Yeah.
And the very meaning of the term is conditioned by the semantic and logic rules of a system, a religion, and so that just moves it back to, again, a paradigm or religion analysis as a whole. I think part of the problem is that we want to start from the parts and then build up. but we're looking in terms of systems, a whole. The whole conditions the parts, and their meaning.
And this is the whole reason, quote unquote, pun intended, that Thomists don't understand this position, because their whole system is built on reasoning from the inductively from the particular to the general. They don't have any notion of systems and system level argumentation. They can't conceive of it. It blows their mind.
Yeah, guilty as charged.
Then we go into, again, and I call the term reflexive recursion, because the paradigm itself, the necessary conditions for the possibility of knowledge, the Orthodox God in his revelation, obviously refers back to it. So how do we know that? Well, if that's the first epistemic principle, that's by how which you know it. And within it, because it's a whole, is the recursion. Things are spelled out within there that explain itself too. And one of those is the whole has the notion and conditions the term God is Trinity. And within that, it even explains why Trinity. So it's not just arbitrary. Well, if you accept it, it just has to be Trinity. The explanation is in terms also of recursion within it. It unfolds out in itself in the explanations. An explanation in terms of justification that everybody's system and paradigm wants but can't pull off. So it's both a positive proof and indirect proof by impossibility of the contrary.
Let me illustrate this with a popular tweet that I did some months ago, where I pointed out how it is the case that, for example, Allah is not synonymous with the Christian God or the God, the Father of the Old Testament. First of all, Muslims do not believe that Allah has any sons. So Allah has no sons. So that right there tells you that's not God the Father. Okay. Allah, for most Muslim systems, is wholly transcendent. Allah is strictly a unity, and they argue over what that means. Allah is not immanent in the world, and so he's, for example, not in time and space. So they don't believe in omnipresence like we would. Most of the time, they believe that Allah is predestinarian. They believe that Allah is an occasionalist deity, meaning that there's no secondary causes in the world. Allah is the direct cause of every event, and in every millisecond, he is destroying and recreating the world, literally, so that there's no secondary causes. As we said, Allah is not God the Father. He has no sons. It is not who Abraham worshipped. Abraham did not worship a generic unity. According to Jesus, he worshipped Jesus. So Allah is not the God of the Torah and the prophets. And every Muslim out there will tell you that they wage war on the notion of the Trinity and the person of Christ as a second person of Godhead. And so all of these are key indicators that although we share the term, quote, God between the two systems, they are mutually exclusive. There is no commonality because there are some common ideas. So, for example, well, don't you believe that God is one as a Christian? Muslims believe God is one. So we believe in the same God. That's a quantifier shift fallacy. I have one mother. You have one mother. Therefore, we have one and the same mother. No, that's a fallacy. Are you there?
Yeah. You need a slow boy part 2.
Well, I mean, again, let's just make it really easy from language. A goat is a kid. Having a child is a kid. So therefore, children of humans are goats. Isn't that stupid?
Yeah.
Why? Because the word kid means different things in different contexts, even though it's the same word. Okay, well, in the same way, the word God doesn't necessarily pick out some specific certain thing. It's a generic term.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, then natural theology is false. so you can't be Roman Catholic anymore if that's the case, because natural theology in Nostra Aetate and Lumen Gentium 16 is based on the idea that we all believe in the same God because we have one God and it's monotheism. Okay, well, I mean, if I believe that the one God is Satan, does that make me a monotheist who also shares in the worship of the one true God with Muslims and Christians and Jews?
No, absolutely not.
Right, it's a stupid argument. So, like, that right there undoes natural theology.
What's up, Hillary's email?
So the basis of Roman Catholicism in that manner is natural theology.
And what's up, Clifford? How
The
are
basis
you?
of Nostra Aetate and Lumen Gentium 16's formulation of why we can have a common adoration and I guess even worship services together with Muslims, since the popes go and pray in the mosques, is precisely because of natural theology. Yes.
Okay. I'm going to need to get more versed in that.
Well, you just look up, I mean, doesn't it kind of seem like it's not right to go pray in the mosque towards Mecca?
Yeah, no, I feel
If
like
you're
I've
the
been
Pope?
taught otherwise from deacons, etc. in the
Well,
church.
do the deacons know better than the Pope? I mean,
no.
I mean, I guess conceivably in your system,
Fan
they
fiction
could,
versus fan fiction.
but they're just following what Lumen Gentium 16 says when it says that
Does Spock know better than
Muslims are part of
Gandalf?
the plan of
No.
salvation. They worship
They're
their
wise
God, their
enough to work
creator.
together.
They adore and profess the faith of Abraham along with us. No, they don't. Muslims do not have the faith of Abraham because Abraham did not worship a generic Unitarian deity. And this is the whole argument that we make against Muslims. I don't understand how, I mean, Roman Catholics want to support me when I debate a Muslim, but they don't realize that my arguments undercut their position in Lumen Gentium 16 and Nostra Aetate 4.
Nostra Aetate 4, and what was the 16?
Lumen Gentium 16.
Okay, well,
Excuse me, it's Lumen Gentium 3 and 4. Precisely 3 for the Muslims. 4 is about Jews. 4 is Nostra Aetate saying, oh, well, Jews are also part of the quote plan of salvation and all this nonsense, which even Tim Gordon admits is clearly a contradiction. Thank you for those questions. Realists, what's up? I mean, that's the funny thing, is that all of us in this chat, after we've had enough debates with Muslims, we could obviously see through this, how absurd this is. I mean, did the Vatican Periti and the people who crafted this document, are they so ignorant on Islam that they didn't realize the silly stuff that Islam teaches, which you could, after a little bit of research and study, pick out and figure out that it's not the God of the Bible? I mean, it's obvious. And yet they created and crafted this stupid document premised on the assumption that, well, they say that it's the God of Abraham, so it's the same as our God. How stupid is that?
I know.
I mean, imagine if I said, well, I worship the God of Abraham, but it's Satan. Well, according to Lumen Gentium, it's the same God. This is how stupid this is.
Was it because I was cordial?
But Roman Catholics cannot conceive that the Vatican documents would be this stupid, but they are. It's this fraudulent. And it's right here. I mean, it's clear as that. The documents of Vatican II are ambiguous. They're not ambiguous because it's clearly saying that the plan of salvation includes Muslims and that they adore God. Adoration is worship. It's not just a conceptual. Well, they have a conceptual. Like if Vatican II had said they have a conceptual reference, perhaps to a single God, maybe they could get away with it, but they don't. They actually say the plan of salvation, the faith of Abraham, and adoration.
Hello.
Yo.
Could you recommend me literature on like debunking relativism?
I don't know if there's much literature because it's kind of prima facie self-refuting. I mean, if relativism is true, you can't say it's true. I mean, that's like the strongest self-own ever.
We have one in the ethics books I'm teaching out of, the Fundamental of Ethics. He provides like 2 chapters, and I don't even think I think this guy's an atheist, but he provides 2 chapters refuting relativism. One is psychological or practical reasons to reject relativism, and then also logical reasons. Like Jay said, for example, relativism states is the position that either your society and culture is the standard for truth. So what makes something true? It's the culture or society, or relativism means the individual subject makes it true. Now, the problem with that is, obviously, that means, well, then, by that standard, all views about things are equally true. Would you say that's correct? According to relativism, all views are equally valid. Why? Because the relativist accepts that
They really do make morality hard.
True.
Way harder than it has to.
Would you agree with that?
I already moved on. I think so.
Anyways, let me finish up real quick because it's really good. Yep. That means, so if the position relativism is A, it must admit that all positions are equally valid. Well, my position is B, and B states that A is false. So that means they have to say that A is both true and not true.
Such a straw man.
And it's self-refuting, so it's a contradiction. That's probably the most straightforward, kind of logical argument.
It's what atheists believe, just what everyone.
All right, so somebody said, how come you're not debating Jews? So again, I don't know if people are ignorant, but Jews typically do not debate because they see their position as really for themselves and insular. They don't they're not into proselytizing. Debating is partly for the purpose of proselytizing. But I have had 3 Jews come to debate in the last month. You can go to the Billy Carson stream here. The last hour has a Jewish debater. There's another Jewish debate on this one here, open debate, dispensationalism, Judaism. So I'm really tired of these annoying complaints. You won't debate Jews. This is open debate for anybody who wants to come debate. So what are you talking about? Let's see, move on. Idris.
Gosh darn it. I thought he was going in order, but looks like it may not be. Okay, I'm going to wait for like a few people.
Unmute. Idris Elba, what's up, dude? Widows, $10. I'm new to Orthodox. I was a Calvinist. I have questions concerning Orthodox churches. I think I already answered that one. That said to find a Rokor Serbian Romanian church. El Tigre, $1. If you woke up tomorrow as the monarch of USA, what are the things that you would do besides implementing a zero capital gains tax?
I do have a question here. You guys believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God?
Yes.
And some Christians believe that Jesus is the God himself too.
Well, God is a generic term that can pick out different things, so both are correct. Hello?
Yeah, in Islam we believe Jesus Christ is the messenger of God.
Right. I'm aware.
Seeing the fan fiction debate
what
going to
Jesus,
get
right,
long. And I shouldn't be mean. I shouldn't call it fan fiction, but you know, the holy book.
There's
The
only one
Christians
Jesus.
versus the Muslims.
Is it the one in the Bible or not?
Well, I think it's the same in Quran and Bible.
Oh, well, but Jesus says God is his father in the Bible, and the Quran says Allah has no sons. So clearly Jesus' God is not Allah.
Yeah, we believe in Islam.
They said the Jewish Messiah would not die and God would not have a son.
So Jesus' God is not Allah because Jesus says that God is his father.
Backwards compatibility. It's a bitch.
So in Islam, we believe that Jesus is a Muslim. Do you guys believe that?
I just disproved that.
Yes, he believes that Jesus is a Muslim. These debates between them is funny to me.
Think about
I can't help it.
Think about what you heard me say. Muslims are literally 99% of them incapable of restating an argument or hypothetical.
And it's the word concept fallacy. Words can only have one meaning, one reference.
Yeah, God just refers to Allah and his essence or something. Exactly. If the Bible is corrupted, then why does the Quran in 547 tell the people of the gospel to judge by what Allah has revealed in it? I mean, this is so silly. But Bible is corrupt. Oh, that's even worse because now you're telling me to go to a corrupted book to judge the Quran. So you see how silly this is. They can't. You ask them. We'll go if we get more Muslims coming on. We'll ask them to restate the hypothetical, and none of them will be able to do it. What's up, Colt?
Oh, hey man, I just got a quick question about this one passage in the Bible. So, a lot of Reformed bros will cite Psalm 51 5 to prove that we have original guilt, and I was just wondering what your response to that would be.
Yeah, but that passage doesn't say that about original guilt.
Yeah, but their argument is that since it says, "Behold, I was brought forth in iniquity and sin," they say that therefore, since he was brought forth in sin, therefore he's guilty.
Yeah, but that's resting on the assumption that sin is a state of being, which is Manichaean heresy.
Oh, really? Is that simple?
Yeah.
Dude, I appreciate that.
How can, I mean, everything that exists because God created it. God gives it being. And so if existing is a sin, or if sin is a state of being, then God created sin. Sin has ontological substance or being, and God is a Manichaean God. It's that simple. But they're that silly that they can't make the distinction between a state of being and guilt. Those are two different things. Guilt, according to James,
just feels like
if you read James, right, he says that desire, when it is consented to, gives birth to sin. He doesn't say desire is sin. He doesn't say that a state of being is sin. He says that when you consent to it with your will, it's sin. So in the Orthodox view, according to James, the only way to sin
now that's a
is
Jerry
to
Springer
commit
episode.
a action against God's law. And infants don't do that. Infants cannot commit sins. When it says that they are in a state of condemnation or whatever, that's the consequences of Adam's sin, not the guilt of Adam's sin. Okay, yeah, I see, babe. I see you, babe. I'm thinking of Jamie. I see you, baby. I see you, baby. Shaking that. I see you, dude, is what I meant to say. Filthy ninja. I certainly wouldn't call this dude a baby. What's up, baby? How you doing, baby?
Yeah, I love the fact that you speak about how a child cannot commit sin. Yeah, but a child cannot commit sin. But
correct.
God created sin.
No, he didn't.
He set us up for failure.
I mean, it explicitly says, I mean, the scriptures explicitly say God did not create evil. So, no, not true. James Wilson, what's up, man?
Hey, Jay. Hey, Father Ananias. Big fan of what you're doing. I'm a catechumen at an Orthodox church in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I came out of Protestantism. And I think one thing my Protestant brain needs to be beat up about is the concept of heaven and hell. Because when I see it, from asking my father or looking at the OCA website, it almost seems as if, hey, it's just our disposition towards God, not, okay, hey, you chose not to be, to follow God or to accept his salvation, as
no, that's correct.
Came out of Protestantism.
Yeah, it's correct because it's tied to the doctrine of recapitulation, that everyone is going to the same eschaton. And what determines the experience of the eschaton, as it's in terms of whether it's ever well-being or ever ill-being, depends on how we lived in this life.
Yeah, but it's still going to be that
is the Orthodox view. So in other words, the river of fire is the same thing as the river of life.
Got it. Okay, copy that. Well, dude, thank you for your help. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, appreciate that. Mentalism. We got a mentalist over here. He's gonna read our minds. Carlito, $1. I challenge you to list 10 interesting facts that you learned this year. I'm not gonna, for $1, I'm not gonna sit here listing 10 interesting facts. Zal Mox says $5. Did you see Gavin Ortland's video where he wholesale repeats R.C. Sproul's fallible list of infallible books? Would you react to that? Thank you, Jay. Yeah, I mean, it's just on the surface an absurd, contradictory position. I mean, if the whole is fallible, then the parts could be wrong. And if the parts can be wrong, then it really doesn't do anything to say that it's a fallible collection of infallible books, because if I can start taking out different books based on my research, which is what Luther did, and what every Protestant can do, what every Protestant liberal higher critic does, then the statement ultimately ends up meaningless and has no weight behind it. I mean, how can you as a Protestant tell me that I'm wrong if I come to the conclusion through research and study that, only the Gospel of John is valid and 3 of Paul's epistles and everything else is to be tossed out? But trust me, I prayed about it. I studied really hard. I have a lot of scholars to back me up on this. You really have no weight behind the claim that I'm wrong with any normative authority. And so it just ends up being a bunch of academics arguing back and forth. And Jesus did not establish his church on the back of a bunch of academics. But all Protestantism ends up falling over into an academic-based church. So normative authority in the Protestant world ends up being academics. Did Jesus elect a bunch of academics to be the pillar and foundation stones of the church in the New Testament, the book of Revelation? No, it's the apostles and their successors. So we get academics can have a role, but because the church in Protestantism it's not a church, they left it. There's no normative authority. So it's absurd for them to call it an infallible collection, a fallible collection of infallible books. I mean, on the face of it, that is a stupid statement. I can't believe that they can't see
I know.
through that.
I don't know
Mentalist,
what's going
what's up?
on. I don't get why.
Hey, first time on the space. I'm really enjoying it. I just wanted to make kind of a general statement and see what you had to say about it. The idea of Christianity, to me, I want to believe in its origins. I want to believe in its authenticity, in its age, and the quality of its teachings. But when you compare the Jewish teachings, which is what the Bible took from and like added the New Testament to the Torah, essentially, right? Then the entire definition of the original religion, so to speak, or the like original system changes into like this metaphoric reality, and like it feels more modernized than.
Well, what are you talking about? Changes into a metaphoric reality? I don't know what that means. What does that mean? How is it changed into a metaphoric reality? What do you mean?
Well, say like all the cross-referencing you can do in Revelation, and it's talking about the wound of the beast that was unto death. Like one of the heads of the beast had a wound as unto death, and that wound healed, and he began speaking blasphemies unto the name of God. Like that's, to me, it's like it's representative of like a king or a kingdom of like
What does that have to do with the Old Testament? What does all these Revelation texts have to do with the Old Testament?
Well, just the original morality comes from the Old Testament, and Jesus comes around in the New Testament and explains that morality in a different lens to certain people, and certain people like adhere to that.
Why do you think it's a different lens, though? Because if you look at, for example, the video I did called The Jewish Trinity, the Trinity is in the Old Testament. So that is contrary to Maimonidean and post-Maimonides era, like Unitarianism.
Well, in I'm not talking about the Trinity. I'm talking about like no longer shall there be like animal sacrifice for our sins. Like that's why Jesus came, to sacrifice himself for our sins. That's a completely.
Well, but David himself said, "Sacrifice you do not desire." So the blood of goats and bulls could never.
I understand that, but they're like, if you read more than just the Torah, they're talking about different things. Like
what's talking about different things? What do you mean?
The Torah is talking about different things.
What are you talking about?
It's complemented by the other teachings of Judaism. It's not just it's not just a pillar of their entire belief. It's multiple pillars of their entire belief. And
what is you're using all these like really vague phrases? I don't know what you're referring to.
Well, I was getting to a point is that I feel as though it's modernized to a point in this world that it's just Hollywood effects. You know, they're
I mean, are you
teaching
aware of like how all over the place rabbinical Judaism is? So you understand this critique would apply 10 times more to Judaism.
I can grasp that, because I was going to use a verse. I don't know the actual passage, but like the verse reads out that David was in like a courtroom of like a one of the king's courtrooms, and he feigned madness to
Yeah, I'm familiar. It's in the historical books. I'm familiar with the story. What about it?
Well, that's like what they're doing today, except to instill fear in the population that like there's this heaven and this hell. And I believe that there is this heaven
I'm
and this
sorry.
hell.
I'm not understanding any of these arguments. I don't understand where it's going. Sorry, man. NPC, what's up? It's just too all over the place. David's feigning madness. That's what they're doing today to instill fear. Like, how does that relate to what I said about rabbis being all over the place? What's up, man? NPC, what's up? You got to unmute, man. Or don't. Skull Knight.
Hey Jay, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I just had a question about your position on the Trinity. So your view that the Trinity is logical, or is it just that you believe? Because that's
You're cutting out. Is it my view? What? Are you there?
how it was revealed through.
Hey, bro, you're cutting out. Start over. Is it my view? What?
Through.
Skull, are you there? Everything cut out, man. We didn't hear anything.
Is it your?
You got to get a better connection, dude. Sorry. Come back in, and I'll go to you. Servant. My nose is going crazy. Allergies. Spike Spiegel, $10. I've read that the Orientals concluded that the anathemas are lifted. Well, it doesn't really matter. Some Orthodox people might think that because they're ecumenists, but that doesn't really mean or do anything. It doesn't achieve anything. What's up, man?
Hey Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, Jay. I'm Catholic to start with it. My question would be, the biggest issue with the Roman Catholic Church would be the Pope's infallibility and their position on the filioque, right?
I mean, those are kind of the most popular ones, but I think there's other issues that are equally as divisive.
Okay. Have you ever heard about the Old Catholic Church?
Mm-hmm.
So what is your position about them? Because they do not agree with the Pope infallibility, and there was a schism in the
But they have all of the
century.
but they have all of the other heresies of the West. So it's a schism within the Latin world, no different than the Protestants for us.
So it's basically similar or the same level as the Roman Catholics for Orthodox Church.
Yeah. And
Okay.
many of the old Catholics have become Anglicans, and many of them are wandering bishops and occultists. So they're really an irrelevant movement.
Oh, they are occultists as well. I've never
Some
heard
of
that.
them are, yes. Yeah.
Oh, that's bad. Okay. Just to tell, I just want to thank you for all the insights and all the streams and everything that you do, because
I learned that
even
the
though
hard
I'm
way,
Catholic and
'cause
everything, I listen to you. I've learned
he
a
half
lot,
answered my question
and I'm
and kicked me
actually
off.
at the point where I'm deciding
Okay.
If I should leave the Roman Catholic
Yeah, I hear you.
Church and join
I
the
appreciate
Orthodox.
that. I understand where you're at. We've been there. I think, really old Catholicism is not a viable option, because I think when people get to the point of, well, am I going to be a trad cat that's like Seda, or am I going to go Uniate, or I don't like Francis and Vatican II, they kind of scroll through these other options. But I think you're going to find that these other options are really also really untenable. I mean, I just don't think old Catholicism is any.
Yeah. I know, because from my position, even being baptized in the Roman Catholic Church, I really don't see any logical reasoning for the Pope's infallibility. It's
literally Christian versus Christian.
I don't want to sound
funny how much
heretical
they
or
hate
anything
each
like that,
other
but like
more than
it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, the one
I
thing I would
understand that
say,
there was a
right.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, it's just I one thing I understand, that there was always a bishop of Rome, and there was certain authority in the bishop of Rome, but there were several bishops at the same time, and they always had to reach the point when they gathered in the councils, and the bishops were the same from each church, right? They were the same level of.
And that synodality and conciliarity is what's admitted in the recent documents from the Vatican about the Orthodox. So if you read the Chieti document and if you read the Alexandria document, they admit all of the Orthodox points on what you just said.
Yeah. All right, man. That's basically all. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Sure. Yeah, I think the one thing I will say about old Catholics is that Dolinger's book is relevant, and his arguments, because he was the one who had a big, the most famous historian at that time, who was really struggling with accepting Vatican I, and I think Dolinger's arguments really influenced the old Catholics. So while old Catholicism is kind of a, pretty much a dead position, Dolinger's
Christianity
book
is, if you think about
has, quite a few
guy coming back from the dead.
pertinent critiques,
And they talk so seriously.
that we would agree with.
It's the weirdest.
One of the
period
things
of
that he
time.
said that was kind of prophetic was Dollinger said that after Vatican I, really the whole of Rome will be just to defend the papacy. And that's exactly what's happened. So he was correct. And what do all the papal apologists do? All they do,
Papal
95% of their
apologist for Peter Pan,
apologetics is papacy,
pickles.
because the religion is the papacy. And it's just preposterous.
I don't know.
Hadrianus.
Hi, Jay. Can you hear me?
Still again.
So I'm a Greek Orthodox Christian. I'm actually asking this on behalf of a Brazilian Orthodox inquirer. I'm Brazilian. I communicated with him. He just can't access X, so I'm doing this on his behalf.
Okay.
So his first two questions were so basically he's been attending a Greek Orthodox church as an inquirer, and he read the September 1st letter from the patriarch, basically marking that letter, marking the beginning of the ecumenical calendar and whatnot. And he was kind of concerned about sort of the green environmentalist rhetoric. It kind of reminded him of like the political leftist rhetoric that he hears
Well, yeah,
a
of course.
lot.
Bartholomew is a huge supporter of all that. Yeah.
Could you elaborate on? I'm not familiar. I'm Greek Orthodox, but I'm not super familiar with that. Could you give me the cliff notes in like 10 seconds about that?
Bartholomew, unfortunately, has been essentially an attaché of the U.S. State Department for the whole tenure, and the patriarchs of Constantinople going back a few generations have been. So it's unfortunate, but they parrot whatever the Uncle Sam tells them to. So he's published books with the Clintons on green crap. So I would not be anywhere in that sphere. So I don't automatically call everybody in that sphere heretic or bad or evil, but I do not promote anything related to Patriarch Constantinople.
Oi, como vai? Your friend is in a Greek church in Brazil, you said?
Oh, he already left. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to ask some question. Jurgen's lotion. What's up? Jurgen's lotion.
Hey, Jay, am I good to talk?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I was watching a reaction to one of your live streams, and it was when you debated the Nigerian Thomists who kind of spurred out when you got him to deny Leviticus 9. And so
To deny what?
Leviticus 9 and the glory of God.
Okay.
And so but right before that happened, he had kind of asked a question about the distinction between the essence, the energies, and then he asked the question, is the essence distinct from his, the essence of God distinct from the existence of God? And so the guy who's watching your video responded and saying, you kind of hinted that there is a distinction, and he said that that logically would lead to you saying that God does not exist. So I just want to see what your response to that was.
No, so for us, existence is one of the energies. So no, saying that God's existence is an energy and not identical to his essence would not in any way have anything to do with lead to atheism. That's kind of a low tier, stupid argument.
Okay. But yeah, I just wanted, he didn't give you a chance, so you didn't get a chance to respond to it. So I just wanted to get it out there.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, it's even more difficult for a Thomist position, because if you say that God's existence is identical to his essence and you profess to believe in via negativa, you're more closer to moving into atheism than my position is, because in our position, God is immanent in the world. The energies come down to us in a real immanent sense. In the Thomist position, that doesn't happen. You only know God by created effects. But how do we know that what's behind the veil of the created effects is actually what we think in terms of these created concepts? So I have a concept of what God's mercy or justice is from these created effects, but I never actually touch the actual mercy or justice of God. They're only created effects. And so it begs the question then, when we say, how do we know that these created effects match up to the thing beyond the veil of creation, when we don't actually know or think or have any basis to believe that there's a similarity between the effects and the cause? Now, all Thomists will say, well, we know that there's a similarity of analogy to the cause and the effect. How do we know that? That's the thing that I'm asking you. You're asserting that based on your metaphysics, but all they have is a self-evident, self-assertive metaphysic that if you just question why they think that, they immediately crumble, because none of them have dealt with any of the epistemology of the last 500 years. So if you just ask them a basic question of how they know their, quote, self-evident metaphysical principles, they collapse and crumble and lose their mind.
Absolutely. If it's okay, I have another question. And it's
Sure.
kind of it's about like paradigm level circularity. And it's one thing that like when you debate Trent Horn or like any other people who watch your debates and respond, they always kind of don't understand what you mean by how each paradigm level is at some point you can, like, foundationalism will never work. You have to result in some type of secularity or circularity.
Right.
So could you kind of like expound on that and why it works when you start from there, understanding that with the theistic or the Orthodox God?
Well, again, if God exists, I mean, ultimately, obviously,
What's up,
the way that we
Pragmatic?
live in
What's
Christian
up,
theology,
Darren,
he's
and
going to be
everybody
the
that
ultimate
joined us?
authority. He's going to be the final thing that you could appeal to, right? There's not going to be something that God
We are
appeals
stuck
to or
in
stands
purgatory
above or
right
over
now.
God that judges him.
The
Because God is the
guy
ultimate thing in our worldview. He's supposed to be.
fan fiction
Now, what they do
debates
is they don't actually
with people
consistently
that
say
almost
that, but they
believe
don't
the
actually
exact
consistently
same
believe
thing
that,
as
because
him.
they actually think that
What the heck?
they have no idea.
Gosh
Like
darn
what
it.
you're
Can you
saying,
guys hear
because
me?
they don't think in terms of systems and arguing and comparing systems. They think in piecemeal, again, like building up and stacking the evidences. Think about the Ibarra debate. This is a great example of this. I told Ibarra that all I need is to show and demonstrate some systemic level contradictions to invalidate your whole worldview. And what was Ibarra's response? Wait a minute, Jay. Let me just pile up a bunch of historical evidences. And doesn't it seem like it would be very likely that the papacy is true? So he didn't even understand that I'm dispensing with that whole approach, that whole evidentialist pile up the evidences idea by saying that at a systemic level, if the system contradicts, the whole thing is tossed out. And that it melts their minds because they don't think in terms of systems.
Now, in terms of polemics, I've stopped using that circularity at paradigm level phrase because it confuses people. And Jay and I talked about this. I like, again, reflexive recursion.
I was just bad diving. I hit the back button
how do I know
on
that?
my mouse.
Well, it's reflexive. It's in virtue of the principle that you know that. And I find that's a lot better because people get really confused about circularity.
Yeah, no, a good example of how you can't avoid this in meta level questions is something like, how do we explain linguistic philosophy without using words? Oh, you're going to explain linguistic philosophy and define linguistic philosophy, but you're using words, so you're being circular. You see how silly that would be. But it's inescapable by the nature of what we're discussing. So, for example, somebody asked me on YouTube yesterday, they were like, ha ha ha, you're silly because you're talking about meta logic. Meta logic isn't a thing because it's still using logic. Yeah, that's the point, is that you can't escape appealing to things like logic in questions of meta logic. That's the point. That's why it's, quote, circular, or as Father Deacon pointed out, to be more precise and not confuse people, it's recursive. It refers back to itself. It's self-referencing. That's different than a vicious circle in terms of a contradiction. And so when people are calling out, well, you say the tag allows for circular arguments, and yet you're always calling people out for circular arguments. When I'm calling out a Roman Catholic for a, quote, circular argument, it's because he believes in a system that doesn't allow for any recursive self-referencing. That's why. Because they're foundationalists. Now, if he wants to give up foundationalism, then he's going to be in an even deeper problem because he'd have to give up Thomism. You see, that's why. It's systems, okay? People can't fathom and think about systems. It's the problem here.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. That was my last question.
Sure,
Thank you, guys.
questions.
Also, remember that goes back to the Bonson debate too, where he points out the crackers of the pantry fallacy, that not everything is proven in the same way.
Yeah, exactly. That's they're making the exact same move. Exactly.
Yeah, you know, logic, higher level things are that by which you prove stuff.
Yeah, to prove things, I use logic. But if I ask, well, how do I know logic works to prove things? That's a meta level question that's going to be proven in a different way than the way other things are proven. This is that people don't know this, but yeah. Ali, what's up? Here come the Muslims. Yes, sir.
We talked before, right?
I don't know.
Okay, I heard you quote.
I mean, are you the only Muslim named Ali?
I mean, you can check my account and you'll see the recent videos I posted. Anyway, did you quote 547?
Yes.
Would you like to talk about it?
Sure.
I'll go a bit in detail. So if you're lost in anything, just stop me in the middle, okay?
Okay.
Let's go. So in Quran 547, ليحكم أهل الإنجيل, okay?
The what?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it in Arabic. So
okay.
1 second, let me pull out the verse so I'll make my point more obvious. You know? وليحكم أهل الإنجيل بما أنزل الله. Okay. There is another قراءة. I think it was خلف عن حمزة. Al-Tabari states this in his tafsir.
Again.
He says in this قراءة it says
a religion that's wrong versus a religion that's wrong.
A kasra on the bottom. So that completely changes the meaning. That's like what that means in Qur'an Khalaf and Hamza. It means we reveal to the Injil so the people of the Injil can judge with it. That's the new meaning. So when we correlate the two meanings in the Qur'at, we'll come out with one meaning, is that this was a command or people that used to have the Injil. ليحكم أهل الإنجيل بما أنزل wait 1 second وليحكم أهل الإنجيل بما أنزل الله فيه. Are you lost or Jay?
You think that's funny? Now, isn't it interesting that the Quran in many places says that it reveals everything and everything is clear, but now it turns out it's not, because we actually need this hadith to explain that the meaning is actually not what it appears to be, right?
Jay, have you studied علم القراءات before?
Okay, so
no, I'm asking, have you looked into it?
So can you make an argument without throwing all the Arabic terms, because that doesn't impress anybody but your own crew.
I'll translate.
Nobody's impressed by this but Muslims. So
I know, Jay. I know.
Right. So and there's about 15 other places, by the way, that also say in the Quran that the previous revelation confirms the new. So it's not just 547. You understand that? You want the whole list? I've got 15 here.
Okay. Also, have I told you that I believe that at the time of the Prophet there were uncorrupted versions of the Torah and the Injil?
Is that the ones that the Christians and Jews had?
Yeah, at the time of the Prophet.
So the 7th century Christian or Jew had uncorrupted texts that they could go to?
In Medina, yeah.
In Medina. I mean, do you understand that we have the same text as Christians and Jews that Christians and Jews at this time and earlier had?
I mean, you also have many lost gospels, so
that has nothing to do with this. Lost gospels has nothing to do with this. No, it doesn't. We today have the same Torah and gospel and prophets that Jews and Christians at this time had and earlier.
Jay, that's besides the point. If the Prophet quotes or a Sahabi quotes a verse from the Torah and you can't find it in your current Torah, that proves that the Torah at the time of the Prophet is much different than the Torah you have now. So all of the verses you are quoting.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
No, all that does is prove that perhaps the Quran misinterpreted or miscited. That doesn't prove it. That only proves it if your position is true, which is in question.
This is I'll quote the hadith of the Jewish rabbi at the time of the Prophet.
Oh, so now we got to go to Jewish rabbis for this.
Yeah.
Jewish rabbis? That'd be silly.
1 second.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh, we're done. This is retarded. Garrett, what's up?
Oh my goodness.
So there's uncorrupted texts that exist at this time. He didn't know that we as Christians and Jews have texts that are similar to the texts of the 7th century Christian and Jew and earlier. That it's like they can't grasp this. And then he brings up lost gospels. It has nothing to do with this. The pseudepigrapha, the Gnostic texts have absolutely nothing to do with what the Jewish and Christian Bibles were at this time. This is so silly. And by the way, it's not just 547. It's about 15 other texts that also talk about confirming the new revelation with what came before. So you notice what they have to do is say, oh, turns out there was a gospel and an Injil, but it's not what Jews and Christians have. But he just admitted that the Jews and Christians did have it. So everywhere they turn and they when trying to prove this, they shoot themselves in the foot. That's why they can't get this. What's up, man?
Hey, Jay, huge respect. My best friend is a Serbian Orthodox. I've been attending liturgy for the last year. And I went last week with my kids, and this one guy was like, oh, you should check out American Orthodox. And I wasn't sure if they were kind of giving me tough love. And I went last week to the American Orthodox church. It was really nice.
The OCA? I don't know what you're calling American Orthodox.
Yeah, it's just like an OCA church. I was just wondering your opinion on those and compare.
No, I do not recommend. I do not recommend people go to the OCA. So, how's that, Garrett? What's up?
Hey, Jay. I was wondering, in general, your strongest argument against annihilationism. So I would go to Christology. Someone brought it up the other day, and it was just something I thought was.
What does that do with Christology? And no, I mean, the Christology itself refutes annihilationism because Jesus assumed a rational soul, according to Constantinople I. So the condemnation of Apollinarianism proves that annihilationism is false.
Yeah, I
Well,
try
right.
and
And I
figure
was
out,
using
guys,
Christology as my.
Oh, okay.
how
I just
much
didn't hear you. So
longer
yeah, you're on the
that
right
I
track.
should
Yeah.
take for you guys. I
Sorry.
want
Okay.
to
Yeah.
have
So
a
that's where
debate
you would
with
go
them.
to speak Christology because I
Well, I
wasn't
mean,
hitting home for them,
that's
and
kind
they're
of
Protestant.
that's
So
an easy kind of a right away way to show it's not
I don't
Christian
want
or
you guys to
Orthodox.
just
But
have
I
to
mean, there's
watch
plenty
them
of texts
having,
that show
once
that
again,
the
fan
soul
fiction
exists
debates.
and continues on beyond death. I mean, Abraham,
Like he's talking about a man.
Abraham's bosom with the
Most likely
righteous
didn't
man and the
exist.
unrighteous man. I mean, that whole story.
Solomon, Abraham, Moses.
Yeah. Okay.
These people were
All
not
right.
I mean,
real.
that whole story.
Well, that's great. So
I mean, I didn't even thought about that, but that whole story just now popped into my head as like obviously a refutation of annihilation. So, right. So, I mean, if we die and we're annihilated, then how is Jesus rebuking the man who's complaining about his brothers and being in Abraham's bosom versus him being in torment? Let's do this real quick here to point out, because I keep saying this, and so we're going to try to run through these fairly quickly, and you'll see that it's not just one or two texts here. It's actually many texts where the Quran directs us to go to the prior revelation, and it puts the Muslim on the horns of a dilemma, because they either have to say the prior revelation is corrupt, which means that the Quran is contradicting and is sending us to a corrupt book to confirm it, which is dumb, or there's this lost version that Jews and Christians had that we don't have anymore. Well, there is no evidence of this lost version other than these assertions. And you just heard him admit that, he didn't know that we have gospel texts and Torah texts that are 7th century and earlier. So they don't even know this, right? They just assert their position. They have no idea about what's actually even in the text, by the way. So let's look at 241. Remember, O children of Israel, 40. Remember my favors. Fulfill your covenant, and I will fulfill mine. Stand in awe of me. 241. Believe in my revelations, which confirm your scriptures. So notice, the new revelation confirms the revelation to the Jews. Okay, 241. Let's go to 289. Now, the reason I'm doing this is that this is stated so many times in the Quran that it's kind of absurd when you get distracted into thinking it's only 547. It's not only 547, okay? 289. Although they used to pray for victory by means of the prophet over the polytheists, when there came to them a book from Allah, which they recognized, this is talking about the Old Testament, confirming the scripture
That's
they
so
had
funny.
in their hands.
I've been trying to argue with them
the
to get me
Quran
up,
confirms
and
what's
I'm
in their
pretty
hands.
sure a moderator just muted me. I don't know, boys and
So
girls,
it's supposed to
and
be
everything
continuity.
in between.
The text that they have,
I'm pretty sure
the way the Quran
this might be
consistently
coming to an
argues,
end.
is supposed to be a confirmation of what came before. So there's the assumption of continuity. This is not that
We're
hard.
at 43 minutes.
When it is said, believe what Allah has
Trying
revealed,
to
they
wait
say, we
since
only
the
believe
last
what was sent
time I
to
got
us.
up.
They deny what came afterwards, though it is the truth, confirming their own scriptures. The Quran is supposed to confirm their scriptures, the ones they possess, the Bible. This one that we possess, Jews and Christians possess. Indeed, Moses came to you with clear proofs, and you worshipped the calf. We took your covenant and raised you to the mountain, saying, hold firmly to that scripture, the Torah. You see that?
I can't help
291,
myself, boys
1993.
and girls. Look at this. Hold on.
2101. We're going to go through every one of these so that you see that it's not a one-off. Okay? There's not that many. Well, there's 10, 15 of them. So we're going to go through them all. When a messenger from Allah came to them, confirming
Amy
their
get
own
booted?
scriptures, the people of the book cast the book of Allah behind their backs as if they did not know. So the argument here in 2101 is that the Quran is confirming the prior scriptures, meaning there has to be continuity. This is why, by the way, Daniel in his contradictory clips,
Someone said 24 hours.
in our
There we
debate
go.
says, look at all the continuity. And then in the debate,
All right, I don't think I'm gonna be
I never
picked.
argued for continuity. It's not
I
continuity.
am so sorry,
Total
everyone.
contradiction. Why do they do that? Well, because the Quran is a bunch of contradictions. That's why. Let's see, I
I
forgot
went in this with high hopes.
278, 79.
High hopes.
Among them are the illiterate who know nothing about scripture except lies. So this is illiterate people. This is one of their texts they reply with, right? So they're going to say, oh, you see, the Quran is saying the Bible's corrupt here in 77, 78. It's not saying that. It says that illiterate people who can't read corrupt what the scriptures say. It does not say the scriptures are corrupt. So they'll cite 279 and ignore 278 that's talking about illiterate people. Obviously, if they're illiterate, they can't corrupt it. In other words, they can't corrupt the scriptures themselves, right? They're illiterate and distorting the scriptures through what they say. They know nothing about the scripture, and they distort it with their own hands when they say this is from Allah. So, and this goes along with the other text that says that they corrupted it with their tongues. And that's what, 377, 79. It does not say the texts themselves are corrupt because many times over, it says that the texts are not corrupt. Indeed, those who trade Allah's covenant and the oaths for a fleeting gain will have no share in the hereafter. Allah will neither speak to them nor look at them nor purify them on the day of judgment. They will suffer a painful punishment.
I'm waiting
some
until
among
the
them who
next
distort
one.
the book.
And then please
Is it
forgive
saying that the
me,
Torah is
everybody,
corrupted? No, with their
for
tongues.
leaving.
To make you think the
I'm not
distortion
even
is
sure
from the
what I
book,
should
but it
do
is
with
not from the
this
book.
podcast
It is
because he's
literally
not
in
going
the
to give
text
us a
saying that the book
climax,
is not
boys and
corrupted.
girls.
What do they all say? The book
Can
is
he
corrupt.
just destroy me? I want to be destroyed.
Because
Destroy
they
me,
know
Daddy.
that if they go with admitting that it's not corrupt, they're in an even worse situation
Oh
because
my
obviously the
God.
Bible contradicts the Quran. Okay, so you see the games that they're playing here.
Our guy resurrects, and their guy hits
Over and
the
over it
moon.
says, no, it's
So,
not the book is corrupt. It's the illiterate people who distort it with their tongues, not the book. And they say it's from the book, but it's not. Ironically,
totally
the very
not.
thing that Allah's followers do when they argue with us. Isn't that funny? The book is corrupt. Well, Allah says to you, the book is not corrupt, and you're distorting it with your tongue. That's how stupid these people are, right? 3-1.
I'm waiting for the next one. But then I think
He has
we've made it
revealed to you,
clear.
O prophet, the book, confirming what came before, as revealed in Torah and Gospel. See that? Confirming what came before in Torah and Gospel. So the Quran is supposed to confirm what came before, but also Jews and Christians can look to what came before to validate the Quran, supposedly.
No, the Torah does not
So it's
confirm
supposed to be this
the
reflexive
New
thing. And I
Testament.
can
The New
explain
Testament does
why
not
that's the case, because not many
confirm the
people know this,
Quran.
but
Let me tell you why it's the case. Because the new
what
guys
actually happens
look
is that
back
the
and say,
Quran is
"Oh
supposed
yeah,
to
that's
be
totally us," and the old
God's
guys are
revelation
like,
for
"Fuck
Arabs.
you, we like what
And
we
this
have."
is in 543 and 568.
Each
That
and every single
Jews and
time.
Christians had a revelation in their language. Well, what are Arabs supposed to do because they don't have the revelation? Well, in steps Muhammad to give the revelation in Arabic.
Hey, his guy left.
Thus, Jews and Christians are
I
told in
outlasted his
543
guy.
to follow their own books.
So preacher guy here.
This is something that David Wood recently did a video on that's really, really insightful here to understand what's going on. So 543.
He's just preaching.
Why do they come to
reading
you
the
for
Bible.
judgment? Jews, when they already have Torah. Well, how are they doing that if it's all corrupted, by the way? The Torah contains Allah's judgment.
You're reading from the
You
Quran.
see.
Fantastic. Different fan
So
fiction.
the argument here is that Jews don't need to come to you. They have the Torah. They're fine with that. And then in 568, a similar statement. You see how silly this is. This whole position is silly.
Religion.
Say, O prophet,
Silly.
O people of the
Yes.
book, you have nothing to stand on unless you observe Torah and gospel. How could they observe it if it's corrupt? And what has been revealed to you? See that? So the assumption is Jews follow the Torah. Christians follow the Injil. That's the revelation sufficient for you. But then at the same time, the Quran is supposed to be for all people. It doesn't make sense. The whole thing is a bunch of contradictions.
Ooh.
Way worse than what they say about us. That's the funny part. All right, so we're going to go through the rest of these. There's many, many more. 348.
You're not going to call up anybody?
Did we do that one?
I said I would wait, and he's just going to go through more shit.
Allah will teach him writing and wisdom, Torah and gospel. How are they going to do that if it's all corrupt? And then the one that we just read, 543 to 47. Why do they come to you when they have already the Torah? Indeed, we reveal the Torah containing guidance and light, by which the prophets who submitted themselves to Allah made judgments for the Jews. Okay, what prophets? The ones that you read about in the Bible? So the rabbis and the scholars judge according to Allah's book. How do they do that if it's corrupted? Which was entrusted and of which they were made keepers. Do not fear them, fear me. We ordained for them Torah. You see that? Allah ordained for Jews Torah.
This is so exciting.
Don't
How do
worry
they
about
not
it.
understand this is the
But wait a
best
minute.
content ever?
They have heresies and they believe in polytheism, the Trinity. Yeah, that's because this book is contradictory.
Yes,
You see, that's the
exactly,
point.
Kentucky
This
atheists.
doesn't make any sense. It's a bunch of cobbled and jumbled up narratives.
Jesus was not the
and
Messiah. He
copy-paste
died.
Stuff. Then in the footsteps of the prophets, we sent Jesus, son of Mary, confirming the Torah. So notice the Torah for Jews, and then Jesus is supposed to confirm the Torah, which he does. So let the people of God judge.
Oh, well, he
by
said
what
it.
Allah
I
has
didn't know
revealed
that
in
he
notes.
said it.
So notice, once again, 547, we're supposed to judge by what Allah has revealed. And he comes along and says, oh, but no, the Tafsir, it's corrupt. There's another one, but also there were true gospels. Okay, where is all this? These are just assertions. Where is this true gospel that they had only in Medina and that everyone else didn't have, supposedly? It's just assertions. We have revealed to you, talking to Muhammad, supposedly, even though it doesn't tell us this, we're supposed to assume it's Muhammad, the book of truth, with truth, a confirmation of the previous scriptures and a supreme authority upon them. So judge between them by what Allah has revealed. So the whole principle here of all these texts is the assumption of and the assertion of continuity. So you see how silly this puts, what a silly position this puts them in? Oh, it's corrupt. But now wait a minute, because the early Muslims said it's not corrupt, as Sam Shamoon has shown many times over in that article. I'll pull it up to show you. And then we got many more, by the way. This isn't, I'm going to do them all. Here's Sam's article about the arguments that Allah's words cannot be corrupted.
I don't know, y'all. The question is, when do I cut it off? Because I'm getting, I mean, it's been confirmed at this point. I think he's
said that the ayah means
not
they
going to draw
alter
me
and add,
on.
though none among Allah's creation can remove
Seems like
the
he's
words
going
of
out
Allah
of his
from his
way
books. They
not to
alter and
pick
distort
someone
their
now.
meanings. You see that? As for Allah's books, they are still preserved and cannot be changed. So here's Sam's articles, which show you from the early Muslim commentaries that they are in a ridiculous, contradictory position. All right, so let's get to the rest of these. Let's see. 6, and this I think we'll talk about the fact that it can't be altered or corrupted. 6, 1, 14, 15.
I keep on waiting, but he keeps on saying, like, I'm not even close to being done.
Say, O prophet, should I seek a judge other than Allah while he is the one who has revealed?
All right, this is what he wants. He doesn't want me to be there. I don't know what to do because I'm looking for a debate and he's not. And so I can't debate with someone who doesn't want to debate with me. I don't know what to call this podcast because it doesn't have a resolution and the giant majority is like foreplay. Like, yeah, no, we get it. You guys argue with each other. You say just wait. But I'm pretty sure wasn't. I have to go and grade papers. I was supposed to go and do this hours ago. Oh my goodness. Like, they had a debate. I can listen live. I can go in here.
Let's see. Next is 9:32.
See, here's my request. I can look at request unsent. Request sent. My cat is scratching.
They wish to extinguish Allah's light with their mouths, but Allah will only allow his light to be perfected, even to the dismay of the disbelievers.
It does
He is
have
the one
it.
who
It
has sent his
doesn't in the
messenger with the true
YouTube. It
guidance
has
of religion and
it
truth,
in
making it prevail
the
over all of the others, even to the dismay of the
this.
polytheists.
I think he
This is
added
the
it. I
text, I think, where
swear.
he talks about how
Yeah, on Twitter he does. On YouTube he doesn't.
yeah,
You're not crazy.
they have taken their rabbis and monks as the Messiah,
I've been
son of
looking
Mary,
on both.
and lords beside Allah, which we don't do that. It's just an assertion. There is
It's
no
just
God
so
worthy of worship
hard.
except him,
I am
glorified is
such
he
a
above what they
crappy
associate with him. They
multitasker,
wish to
and I
extinguish
feel
Allah's light
bad
with
for the
their
people
mouths.
watching
So notice
that
it
aren't
doesn't
getting
say the text
anything
is
beside
corrupted, it says with their
him
mouths.
preaching to them. You say, Jay will let you in. Just be patient.
And also, Allah's light and word cannot be corrupted.
I will say, I mean, I've been banned for 24. Well,
Allah will
not
only
banned. I've
allow
been
his light
muted
to
for
be
24
perfected.
hours on their channel.
So if it can only be perfected, then how was it corrupted in the Torah and the Injil?
But that's not Twitter, and that's, I don't know. I guess I'll wait a few. I don't know. I mean, I'll wait 15 more minutes.
Next is 10.
I'm at 56 minutes right now waiting. Like, he's not even calling me, Bill.
It is not possible for this Quran to have been produced by anyone other than Allah. In fact, it confirms what came before and an explanation of those scriptures. It is without doubt from the Lord of all worlds. Now, isn't that interesting? Because this one notes that it is again a confirmation of what came before, and it is an explanation of those scriptures. But wait a minute, it contradicts. Oh, but now Allah's words can't be corrupted.
I'm at
His light cannot fail,
57.
it
I'm
always
going to
prevails.
wait till 1:15. And then, because I can't spend
What
my
did the
whole
early Muslims
time.
all say?
I should have probably already left.
There it is. They misinterpret and alter the
I
words.
miss doing consistent streams. This is what I want to do
Knowingly.
more.
They alter Allah's words, meaning their meaning, not
Normally,
the text
when I
itself.
go into it, it goes right into the debate.
So go read Sam's article. The Quran confirms the Bible's never been corrupted. And they just ignore all these commentators. Oh, well, whatever. Who cares what they said? 21.
You say that it's hard to grade papers. I can try to. It is very hard to multitask for me.
Surely, following the heavenly record, we decreed in the scriptures, my
It
righteous
keeps on
servant shall
bringing this
inherit the land.
box up every time. See, like I try to do another screen. I do not
So
know why.
the scriptures are here said to be the decree, right? And if the Quran and Allah's decree, if this is speaking of the unwritten record or whatever, it really doesn't matter because it's saying that it's identical to the decree in some sense, right? So how could it be corrupted?
Just sounds
Right.
like he is just speaking word salad.
Because if it can be corrupted, why can't the Quran be corrupted? If the prior revelation can be corrupted,
Why can't the
so
Torah
you're saying
be
that
corrupted?
the
Why
early
can't the
generation
New
of Muslims
Testament be
understood
corrupted?
that
They probably are.
if you
off.
admitted that the words of Allah can be changed and corrupted, then it would fall equally on the Quran.
What's up,
The same way
Rob?
it would
What's
apply to
up,
the Quran.
Jetski? If I haven't said it, 020 Auto,
What is this guy
ARB,
saying? I can't
sending
tell what
love
he's-
to all the new people. I just want to talk with him. I'm okay with him putting, he destroyed me. I tried to start out cordial too.
Let's see. Next one is
Oh my God.
61. By the way, there's probably more than I even have listed here. These are just the one. These are the ones I've found so far. There's probably more. There's also 17 too. I forgot about that one. Let's see. So this is 61:8. They wish to extinguish Allah's light with their mouths. So notice it's not.
And he
the corruption of the
knows
text.
I'm there. I can
But
see
all
his
will
chat.
perfect his light, even to
He
the
knows
dissuaded
I'm there. I
unbelievers.
tagged
He is the
him
one who sent his messenger
because I can't
with
help myself.
true guidance, the religion of truth,
I end up getting
making it prevail
24-hour
over all the
mute
others,
from
even to the dismay of the polytheists.
putting skeptic things in chat. Like,
And then
God does not
17:2.
exist. Prophets are not real. Like, Moses
We gave Moses
may
the
not have
scripture and
been
made it a
real, but
guidance
he
for the
had
children of
Jesus and
Israel.
Muhammad. They were
And
people.
we said, do not take me
They just
besides
weren't
any
prophets.
other trustee of affairs.
It's so amazing how much they invest in this one book, and I get it. I like
You warned the
books
children
too.
of
I
Israel in
like
the
Lord of the
scriptures.
Rings. I'm a big
You'll
Stephen
certainly
King
cause a
fan.
corruption in the land twice.
He's
and
been
become
banned
extremely
in
arrogant.
Florida
Well, yeah,
a
what
lot
scriptures?
this week.
So in other words, the argument is that the warnings and the giving of the scripture, the revelation to the children of Israel is what the Jews and Moses have. See that? And note here it says, we carried Noah in the ark. So you'll note that many times over, the Quran assumes and restates the
A lot
biblical
of
stories,
incest.
assuming that the Bible has correct
But
revelation.
the Bible calls it wincest, I
So
think.
you see how
in Leviticus.
it's a horns of a
think.
dilemma either way. If they say that the texts are all corrupted, then there's no way to say that there's any
Hi,
continuity.
Tuvia.
And it would mean that Allah's
Bring
words
on
can be
the
corrupted, which
simps.
we're told can't happen. But if they don't believe it's corrupted, then they have to say that there's a contradiction, because clearly the Bible and the Quran contradict each other. Let's see. Was there?
Torah says God cannot be a man.
Make sure I didn't miss any.
New Testament says he becomes one. Transgender Jesus. I like it. Exactly.
Oh yeah, there's that one text that Sam
Abraham,
points out.
Moses, nothing.
355. Because it says that the followers of Christ were made to prevail, which means that Paul is not a false teacher.
I have very much requested.
Remember when Allah said, "Oh Jesus, I will take you and raise you to myself, and I will deliver you from those who disbelieve, and elevate your followers above the disbelievers." Well, now wait a minute. Paul was one of the followers. So according to this text, Paul didn't invent the Trinity or corrupt Christianity.
Any
He's
day now.
exalted with Christ above the disbelievers. So notice the narratives, the coherence, the narratives are all jumbled and it's not coherent. J. Mel, now that is a known established, now that is known established that Muslims worship Baal. Can we start from apologetics when they equivocate over the Quran versus the Bible? This is a lengthy historical argument that Sam Shamoon made in a recent live stream. Forget the name of that one, but if you go to his channel, and then Sam went into the history of the Black Stone in Mecca, you can get the history, the background of that.
Oh, Jesus.
Peter, $10.
Christ.
It's funny how Christians have to teach Muslims about their own book.
I'm learning.
Well, I mean, the same thing happens in Christianity, though, because many Christians, they don't know what's in their book.
They're turning the frogs gay.
Octavian, $50. Where did the idea of predestination originate in Christianity? Well, I mean, it's in Ephesians. It's in Romans 9. So, I mean, there is discussions. It's a question, though, of what it means. So the words are there, but when Paul writes to the church
Maybe
at
he
Ephesus,
just wants to talk with Muslims
the Calvinist interpretation
and other
has to
Christians
mean
that are
Paul's only
slightly
writing to the
different than
elect.
him.
But the
He
problem
hates
is that
those.
he's not.
That's
He's
what I'm
writing
learning.
to an actual visible church at Ephesus with a bishop and calling all of them predestined. So that's why the Calvinist view kind of falls apart pretty easily on that basis. Rolf Stakes, $5.
I know. I'm
What
sorry.
is your response to Muslims
This
claiming
is
that
what
the
I mean.
Injil
I
mentioned
feel
in the
bad.
Quran is lost and doesn't
Basically,
exist anymore? That's why we
making us
asked them, how would a
sit
7th
through a
century Christian or
lecture,
Jew verify these
a
claims?
sermon.
And it's stupid because, as I said to the previous guy, we have today gospel and Torah and prophet texts from the 7th century and earlier. It's that simple. I don't care what this person is saying. We want quality arguers, so I'll pick who I want.
Quality arguers.
By the way, it's also just an assertion.
Code word
okay, what's the
for
argument or
I
the proof
cannot
that there's a
defend
lost
myself
gospel?
against
And by the way, it's not just the gospel;
Okay,
it's also
people who
the
disagree
Torah.
with me, should I say?
And how would the Jews or Christians in the 7th century confirm that the teaching is consistent?
Because you heard
if
that, right?
What they have is lost. This is silly. And by the way, you understand that in Christian theology, we can go to the 7th century Christians, John of Damascus, right? We have all of these people. We have massive amounts of writings. The Seventh Ecumenical Council, St. Theodore the Studite, John Damascus, Theodore Abu Kura, many Christian theologians, St. Isaac the Syrian, from this time period. It's not like we don't know what the Christians of this time period were teaching and what they believed.
Well, it is a
And
little
there's
weird
many
that
texts
all the people in chat were saying, bring me on.
prior to the 7th century of
That
the gospel,
they muted me, and
of the
then he said, I'll
of the
bring on who I
prophets,
want to bring
etc.
on.
That's why it's so silly.
Okay.
George, $3. Can you debate needgod.net? I mean, if he wants to call in, he's leading people astray with faith alone. I mean, I can only do so much, man. Draw God, $5. I think the Orthodox theology has the strongest argument against Islam. I would argue conservative Protestants come in second. I mean, a big part of how we would argue, though, I guess you're saying that the majority of online apologists happen to be Protestants. That's true. Except for maybe me, Sam Shamoon. But that has nothing to do with whether Protestantism is a better position against Islam. It's not. Papal interventions, I'm not sure what you mean by papal interventions hurt them. Papal contradictions hurt the Roman
also
Catholic
what I mean,
argument against Islam. The teaching that Vatican II has that Muslims and Catholics worship the same God
Other
is another
Christians more than he hates
destroyer of their
apparently
apologetic
atheists.
strength. BMX 1966, $10. Thank you
What's
so much.
up, Kim-Man Cyborg?
$100. Wow, thank
Sending
you.
so much love.
$100 to either of you or FDA. Is there such a thing as accepting glorious martyrdom if the other options are not available? Sure. I mean, this is pretty well known in the Christian tradition. It's Hebrews 11 mentions accepting martyrdom. In the case of it mentions the Maccabees and the martyrs in Maccabee accepting a more glorious martyrdom. I'm asking about this because the Ukrainian abbot that was drafted into the war. I'm not trying to come off as morbid. I think that typically we don't actively try to seek our death, but if God puts us in a situation,
But where I'm sure he doesn't see chat at all.
Justifiably engaging in the defense of another or some form of self-defense, then yes, then you do accept martyrdom. That's a good question. Sarah, $15. According to your belief, can you lose salvation? Yes, we not believe that once saved, always saved. That's a very recent evangelical doctrine. Do you believe in post or prid? We don't believe in rapture. So all of that evangelical gibberish is rejected by our view. If you're interested in a deeper refutation, we just did a 4-hour live stream with Jim Bob, thoroughly going through everything in regard to dispensationalism and the rapture. So if you come over here to my community tab, if you scroll down to me and Jim Bob and Posh. Well, Posh has an interesting argument against
I'm not sure if he knows who I am.
dispensationalism.
I feel like he knows who I am in the discussion right now because his chat is telling me to take me on, and I have my hand raised, and I feel like he has skipped over me. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe I just have I don't want to have a big ego. It's not about I'm this big person, because I'm not. I just feel like I'm as worthy of conversation as any other person that's coming up.
It's all Muslim stuff.
Oh my goodness!
These two debates kind of took over
Muslim
everything here.
Oh my goodness!
Where's it at? Here it is. Dispensationalism, a brief history. That's a joke because it's 4 hours.
Because this is my first time. I'm sorry, I don't know who Jay Dyer is. Like, I guess, am I supposed to know who
So
he
if
is?
you want,
Like,
who was
I
that,
love you all.
super
And I
chat?
know someone said he was a Amber pointed out he's a
C3ROO,
presuppositionalist. And
Here's
someone
your
told me he's an
4-hour
Orthodox Christian.
full
But when I first joined
dismantling
this
of everything
channel, I was like,
dispensationalist.
is this guy a troll or is he actually religious? I had to sit there for like
Rapture
a
and
good
all of it.
5
Carlos,
minutes
$3.
and
The saints
convince
intercede
myself this guy
from
is
our
actually
prayers
religious. I'm still trying to
and resurrected bodies. Well, they're
accept
not
that, I
resurrected
guess,
yet. So
because
if
he
you look at
has
the book of
this like
Revelation,
troll-like
they're
vibe.
under
He
the
seems
altar
nice
in
in
that
some
imagery,
ways. He was half
praying
nice
prior to
in
the
conversation,
resurrection.
but
So is the eschaton ongoing? Well, the eschaton invaded at the first advent, but is consummated at the second advent. Kristen, $5. Can you sing "Move On Up" by Curtis Mayfield? I don't know that song.
he's a beta teacher.
Is that like a Motown?
I bet T-Jump did
Or
really
is it
well.
like the Jeffersons? Well, we're moving on up, moving on up. Is that what you're talking
Don't
about?
answer questions.
Fry, $1. How do you debunk the Protestant belief in dispensationalism? This 4-hour live stream. Mulder, $3. Why is it every time I see you, you remind me of Magnum PI? Well, because I'm a handsome beige Chad man. That's why. What else would it be?
There's super chats.
Let's see who's up next.
I am waiting for the next person. If you bring someone else up, and once again, it's not because
Nathan McClure. There's like 20 people in here.
Oh, well, see, he says there's 20 people. Listen, it is not because of how big my bridges are, but I have to wake up at 5 a.m. now, and I love you all.
Thank you all for those super chats. I want to remind you that we do have a show sponsor, Chalk.com. If you are interested in the best in supplementation, head on over to Chalk and use the promo code J44Life. That's JAY44LIFE to get 44% off all these great products. I recommend the male performance, male vitality stack right there for your regular gym attendance.
This really is becoming.
You will be losing your mind with toxic masculinity.
Get all that free
were you to
testosterone.
engage in utilizing
it's like 3 a.m. on Comedy
code
Central right
for this
now.
male performance stack, JAY44LIFE, and you get 44% off that product right there. If you don't want the recurring subscriptions with the J44 Life, then you can use the promo code J40, JAY40.
I know, I was looking. He said he like in his profile he has
you don't have
Alex
to buy the male
Jones on
stack. You
his
can buy
like thing.
products individually. I recommend the
Oh my
Tomcat
god! Hey,
Elite,
listen.
but there's also
Alex
7
Jones
Wonders.
likes
There's
T-girls,
also,
so you can't hate too much, right?
The Action 2.0. If you're a lady, there's also
goodness,
the
you can.
ladies
He says
female
crazy
vitality
things.
stack right there. Irish Moss, She Legit, Ashwagandha. Again, it's
Fusion of
J40
Joe Rogan
or
and Jordan
J44
Peterson.
LIFE to get a little more of a discount. That person dropped off. So let's see. Nas. We got rappers coming. Nas. What's up, Nas?
I keep on saying that I'm gonna leave, and I keep on being here. All right, we're at 148. I'm gonna be right back for 1 second.
Unmute.
We're gonna go to 2.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
I really
All
gotta
right.
go.
So, I hope that you don't mute me. You don't kick me out when I'm going to give you a verse that is clear, showing that the Bible that you read today is corrupt.
Oh my god!
Right. So it's Surah Al-Baqarah.
I was about to be
chapter
right
2,
back, but I
verse 79.
I want to take the
It
Quran
says,
in the Bible
"Then
and shove it up
who to
my
those who write
somewhere,
the
and I'm
book
not even sure
with
where
their
the
own
somewhere
hands,
is.
and then they say this is from God. To traffic with
Did
it."
you not? We just covered this like 5 minutes ago.
Well, you didn't. No, I
What is
didn't.
verse? I did cover it 5
Let-
minutes ago. What does 78 say? What does 78 say?
79.
What does 78 say?
What do you mean? What does 78?
Oh my God. What does the verse before it say?
How about you tell me? Go on.
This is what we get. We just covered it. It says, among them are those who are illiterate and know nothing about the scriptures. How do illiterate people distort a thing that they can't read?
I'm doing okay. I'm just a prolific procrastinator.
It says that they distort it with their hands when they say, this is from Allah. So just like the other verse, they distort it with their tongues. Obviously, if they're illiterate, they can't corrupt the text. How does an illiterate person corrupt the text? And we did just cover it. You did not cover it. Yes, I did. Literally 5 minutes earlier.
Cool. Talk to me about evolution. Come on.
So notice they're actually arguing that
I
illiterate
do like
people
T-Chump.
are going in
I
and
met him at
corrupting and changing
DebateCon.
text.
He was a cool guy.
Think how stupid this is. Illiterate people are corrupting the texts.
And he's been my debate
Harper,
partner
what's
a
up,
few
man?
times.
All right, so recently I was like converted to Mormonism, and I was
Oh,
wondering if you had any
gosh.
advice on the obstacles this introduces in my search for an Orthodox man. Like, is this going to cause any major problems that they may mention? How could I counter that?
You can't counter it because you joined a cult. So what do you mean?
Oh,
no
man.
Orthodox person is going to
Oh,
marry you
irony.
if they're
Irony.
faithful.
Irony.
I mean, is that really
That's
true
our
though? I
line.
feel like some of them could at least make an exception.
Are you trolling? Is this a joke?
Yeah, she has a...
No, I would not say I am.
You're giggling. So
I'm
I
a
don't
little
believe you.
nervous.
Mhm. Why would you join Mormonism? It's based on Freemasonry. It's ridiculous.
It was not quite
No,
my
it is
choice.
not. Mormonism is crazy enough. Why do you have to make up that it was divisive?
A little. It's hard to explain. It was mostly like a family-based decision.
Just don't get Theus. I try so hard.
Well, I mean, maybe as you come of age, you can make your own choices, I guess.
I mean, I am of age. It's just that it was, I was forcefully baptized, and it would be hard to disconnect from that.
Forcibly baptized?
What?
Yes.
I like how happy she was. That is a troll. I'm sorry.
It's a question I've never, but nobody's ever posed.
No, that's a kink you've
Now
never
you're
come
giggling,
across.
so.
Now what?
Now you're giggling, so.
Well, I mean, I just it sounded like you were joking at first because
I'm glad I waited for this.
I've never heard of this, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm just a
I
little.
would say maybe you need to break away from your family. I mean, I hate to sound extreme, but I mean, if they're forcing you to be baptized into Mormonism, that sounds kind of like that sounds like, I mean, it should be something that you do willfully. This is bizarre to me that you would
Yeah,
be
I mean, I guess it is kind of bizarre to like from an outside perspective, but in the meantime, would this mean that I'd have to like stop for a second, just kind of lay low, or is this something I?
All right, I feel like this is a joke.
It is a joke.
We're gonna move on. Shistani, what's up? That was a pretty funny troll.
Thanks for having me on. So I got two questions, but my first question is about multiplicity in God versus like a strict Unitarian interpretation. And what I like about the Trinity is that you can see in the created order how singular things have multiplicity.
Yeah,
What's up, Master Master? We are committing
So in other words,
a
nothing necessarily about unity that
sadomasochistic
precludes
run.
Also there being multiple.
Listening to Christians debate
Yeah,
about
so, but,
Christianity and
so what I was trying
Islam
to say
and
was, is there
Mormonism
a
and
possibility of, like, let's say in this the Islamic sense of the
Lord of the
Unitarian
Rings.
God, is there a
Almost said hocus
possibility of there
pocus.
being
that too?
a Unitarian God with this multiplicity that we see in the created order? Like, can that even exist?
I don't think they're going to have a coherent account. So, I mean, they tend to think that we won't be in the problems of a Trinitarian because we're not Trinitarian and we believe Allah is one. But then they're in the exact same boat when they're trying to give an account for the multiplicity in Allah. So it's this, they're in the same boat. It's just with a different, it's just with the attributes and Allah's essence, by the way. So I don't know. I don't think there is a coherent account for that in a strict Unitarian way. And every time Unitarians try to give an account for it, they're really just in the same boat as everybody else. They just tend to ignore the issues. And also, it's not just a question of Allah and his attributes or the relationship of Allah to his essence and the attributes. It's also a question of the dissimilarity between Allah and creatures to even know any of that.
Yeah.
So the problems tend to mount up. And we don't have that problem, for example, because we have the essence energy distinction. So that's not an issue for our metaphysics, but they don't have any of that. So they're in the same boat essentially as the Thomist, where they're really only knowing the created effects. They're not knowing Allah himself.
Yeah, but would you say that the essence of God being a Trinity
I do not,
makes
Nathan.
the created order makes more sense because of that?
The essence of God is not a Trinity. The essence of God is one, but it exists in the mode of three persons that have it. So I wouldn't say the essence of God is a Trinity. The persons are three, and they're distinct from the essence, which is one. And what was your question? What was that again about creation?
Yeah, like, does that best explain why like singular things in the created order have multiplicity in them inherently?
Yeah, I think there's a relationship there. I don't know that it would necessarily, there's no one-to-one like correspondence. It's just that it's kind of an example of how we would say there's nothing inherently contradictory or problematic about something being one and also being more than one. And if that's admitted, then that doesn't allow the Muslim to just say from the outset that the Trinity is polytheism, because
Judaism is polytheism.
there's nothing inherently I mean, they can say it's polytheism, but I'm saying that it's not logically or mathematically incoherent, right? You can say 1 times 1 times 1. What does that equal, right? Does that make the Trinity necessarily mathematically incoherent? Of course not.
Yep, I think this
Musha.
is the true 5-minute warning, y'all, because I've now been waiting 2 hours to really have a conversation with someone. I want to. I get it. He's got lots of subscribers or some shit. Got
doing,
lots
Jay?
of people in the
Good, what's
queue. I don't see it on his end. I'm not blaming him.
Can you show the verse
but I
from
can't
the
stay
chapter
here
2,
forever.
verse 79, that you said that you explain it?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay,
It's on the
that's
screen.
okay. That's
It's on
good.
the screen.
Okay, let me check the YouTube channel because I'm watching you on YouTube channel. Okay, so the thing that I want to say, just to explain it, you have to know that the verse before it says that illiterate people, they say what they think, what they wish, without knowing. They don't know. They are just saying. Then he moved it to people that who can write. It's not people that they don't know how to write. It's themselves that they are reading the book. No, that's a contradiction, and does not make sense. He moved it to people that they can write the book, then they are read something,
Okay.
but it's not
Okay.
makes.
Okay. So now then the Torah is corrupted. How are we supposed to confirm the Quran with the Torah?
You got there a verse that you said that they said to Muhammad that there is like the law of God in the Torah, right?
The what?
The law. The law.
The law?
Yeah. There is a
Well,
verse
I
there
mean, don't
that you mentioned.
many of the verses say that Allah revealed the Torah, not just the law?
Yeah, but there is like when Allah talks about He revealed the Torah, He talks about that time that He revealed the Torah. But right now,
I'll be
when
right
He
back,
said,
y'all. And then we'll go
you have
towards
like
this
to do what is
person,
in the
and
Torah,
then I'm gonna say
you
my
have to see the
goodbyes.
reasons of that
What's up,
verse.
Sumami? What's
Because
up,
the Jews
everybody?
comes to
It's
the
been
Prophet
fun.
Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they ask them.
I'm gonna rename
they
this
ask
to a
him
funny title.
about
And
like a man and a woman.
afterwards,
They
I
did
think.
adultery, and they ask them about the punishment. And this verse comes to them. That the verse says to these Jews, how do you can ask the prophet and you don't believe in him, but the punishment about the adultery is there in your book, in the Torah.
Oh,
Right
so
now,
it's not
this
corrupt.
Torah,
So it's not corrupted.
Allah knows this. Allah knows this is exactly, is it in the Torah that
So
they
wait a
believe
minute.
in
Is
it?
it corrupt? I thought you said it was
No, it's
corrupted, but now it's
no,
not
it's
corrupted.
corrupt. Just listen to me. It's corrupt. But
But
Allah,
you just cited a verse about punishing adulterers.
yeah.
So it's not corrupted.
What, like, what do you think? Just listen to me, so I can explain it. When Allah talks about this verse exactly, He said to them, "This punishment, if you believe in the Torah, it's in the Torah, because this punishment, Allah knows that it exists. It's
Oh,
still
so now
there,
it's
even it's."
so it's relativistic. So now it's whatever the Jews do, that's for Jews, and now they don't have to come to
No,
Muhammad, right?
listen to me. Listen to me. Allah says exactly that the Torah it's corrupted, but that doesn't mean that nothing in the Torah
No,
is
Allah
true.
says that
There is
it's
something.
corrupted and it's not corrupted. So that's the point. So what you're arguing now is that it's a contradiction.
The corruption is not mean that the whole book is corruption. No, there is
Well,
something
that's
that
that's the thing. So it's only corrupted when it doesn't agree with the Quran, right?
exactly.
So how could a 7th century
Okay,
Jew
I'm
or
gonna
Christian,
give you just
how
I'm gonna
could a
give you
se-
just an
don't cut
example.
me
Okay.
off. How could a 7th century Jew or Christian confirm the Quran with what's corrupted?
I'm gonna just give you an example to confirm what I'm saying.
How could a 7th century Jew or Christian confirm the Quran with what's corrupted?
Like, what do you mean? Can you repeat the question? Hello?
How could a 7th century Jew or Christian, based on all those other verses that I listed, confirm that the Quran is in continuity if the prior revelation is corrupted?
Because those Jews, they are Jews. They know what is in that Torah that corrupted. But Allah, as I said to you,
They
He
know
knows
what's in
what's
the Torah that's corrupted. Do you see how stupid this is?
just okay. I'm gonna explain it in a basically way. The thing is,
Before we do this, can you restate what my argument is?
just like excuse me, because I don't really understand English so much, you know. So just excuse me in this.
So, okay, well, just in a very simple, best you can way, can you restate what my argument is?
Like, you want me to repeat what your argument, right?
Please, I know you don't believe it, but restate what you think I'm arguing.
Okay, I'm gonna just explain in very basic way. When Islam says that the Torah and the Injil has been corrupted, that doesn't mean that the whole book is corrupt.
Can you state my argument?
Just hold on. Just let me
So
finish.
you can't do it.
Just let me finish, man. Let me finish.
No. Once again, absolutely incapable of restating an argument. Red pill. That's a good point. So he can't understand English except when it suits him. Just like the Quran confirms what came before when it suits the Quran to do so. Go ahead, Red Pill, unmute.
Hey, sorry. I literally just joined, so I don't know what the topic is. But if you have anything, that
it's the giant bold text listed as the topic.
Okay. Maybe just let me listen for 5
Okay,
to
sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks.
Shlomo.
I've been up and waiting. We're at 2 hours and 3 minutes.
And by the way, I don't buy his argument that verse 79 and 78 are two totally different people.
Is that true?
Because
Clifford?
again, the other
That's
verse
funny.
says they twisted with their tongues. It does not say the text is corrupted.
I really do think
it's
that
parallel
he
to the
is
type of argument that's here.
not letting me on.
Right? 370. So notice here, illiterate people distort it, right? And he's trying to say, well, this means that it is actually the scriptures that are corrupted because in verse 79,
All
it's a
right,
different group
y'all.
of people from
We're
78.
gonna
But wait a minute, though.
log out.
In
I hate
3,
to not give us a
that would
climax.
contradict what's in 3.
Hate to go down on us all and not finish, but I don't think he's gonna let us.
Because in 3, what does it say about people who distort it? It says that those who trade all his covenant and oaths for fleeting gain will have no share in the hereafter. And then it says, there are some among them who distort the book with their tongues. And they make it say the distortion is from the book, but it is not from the book. So you notice his exegesis of the previous text contradicts 377 and 78. See that?
I don't.
That's why that doesn't work. So in order for him to say that it's corrupted, he contradicts 77 to 78. And again, we restate the hypothetical.
Going after.
The book of the Quran confirms what came before. How does it do that?
As
if what came
Ember
before is
said,
corrupt?
the side 10
You see how
argument.
silly this is.
Okay, but the Torah says that God
man, go
can't
ahead.
be a
What's up?
man. So
Unmute.
the moment someone else speaks, we're done. I said
Unmute. Slow-mo.
Slow. Okay. I'm done.
Thank you, Jay, for bringing the all constructed surah. I am a Jew. I'm a lot of times, discussion with about Quran and Torah. What I saw in Quran, they just translated to a different way, but in Arabic doesn't say it's corrupted. In Arabic,
Well, that's what I've heard. I can't read Arabic, but that's what I've heard.
yes, I am Arabic.
Are they calling him out? Wow, this is what
I'm a Jew. And
we're
speak
2
Arabic.
hours and 5
What
minutes.
the Quran
Never mind.
says is the Jewish interpret the word of the Torah of a different way.
Right.
Doesn't say is the Torah is corrupted.
Right.
But the all people, the all Muslim world translated that the Torah corrupted.
Oh,
because
wait,
they want to make from the Torah is corrupted. That because if you go into the word
I can't
doesn't
tell if
say
he's trying to
corrupted.
discredit the
It says-
Quran or not now.
Yeah,
Okay.
يعني ينقضوا
Thought he
الكلام
was
عن
trying
مواضعه.
to
They change
disprove
the
one of his
name.
points. Now he's
how
just trying
how
to agree,
the
I
word
think.
of the of the meaning. That means the Torah stay the same thing. And in the Quran says about what our but the problem is they translated the Quran like what they want. They want to make from the Jewish people they are they are not believing God.
Right.
They are kuffar. They are what I mean. But the Quran, even the Quran doesn't say that. And the proof what you bring the all also what you bring because some some surahs speaks good about the Jewish people. So how come? How come some of the Quran speaks good of the Jewish people, and some I told them that
Say don't leave yet. I have to go. It's 7:44. I have to go to
but
bed soon. I should have
some
been grading
source
papers. I should have been doing
speaking
all
about the
this,
Jewish
and
people
I
bad.
can't.
It's speaking about the best Jewish people, but it's a very little people. Doesn't mean all Jewish people. It's a little bit. Well, it says in our Torah also. In our Torah, it says about some little bit Jewish people do bad things. We are against that. Okay.
Well, I've heard that. I don't know a whole lot about the history of the Quran itself, but I've heard that part of the reason for what appears
You say
to be
that,
these contradictory
but
statements about
I may never
the people
get
of
on.
the book is that it
You
has to
said
do
there was
with
20 other
what
people.
phase Muhammad was in his campaigns and in his teaching.
And
so early on, he had a very
I actually have an
conciliatory approach, and then it
obligation towards
progressed
my
into these
students. I
more,
have to give them grades.
antithetical approaches. So that might also explain why at times the Quran seems to speak as if the Jews can be judged on what they have, Christians can be judged on what they have. Why do you care what they're up to? But then it turns around and says, oh, they're cursed and they hate God and all this kind of stuff. So I think it's just it's an inconsistent position. But yeah, thank you for that backing up from what the Arabic says. I appreciate that. That's what I've heard from other people who say that doesn't actually say the
But
text.
I've said
And
the
notice
love
again,
to you.
in
I know you're
78,
saying that with
78
a
is
good heart,
clearly saying
ARB.
that
I want good
the distortion
content.
is not in
I
the
want to
book.
give good content to
So
the
if
community.
the other verse, the other surah,
But I can't help it. Doesn't it feel like it feels like he's avoiding me? And I know once again you say, "Who are you?"
They
I
say
don't
it
know.
from the book. It is
Maybe he
not
just
from the book.
finds me
So now that would
disgusting
be
just
another
because
contradiction.
the trans thing.
Real.
Who knows? I can't go into his mind. Maybe he really is just an honest thing, and he just
I'm
just
wondering
keep on
too.
getting shuffled
This
back.
is my theory, but I'm not an expert on this.
But what I can tell you
I
is
think too,
I
this
just
is
keep
a
on sitting
book
up here
that
watching
you can
other
kind of
people
make it
go in
be
front of
what
me
you want
for
it to
2
be
hours.
at any time. So like
And
some caliph
it's
in the
been
Middle Ages, if he
93
wanted to set up a
minutes
warring
since
against the Christians
that original
scenario
hang-up.
or against Jews, he could tell the followers using the text that say to go to fight against the polytheists. Right?
I feel like in his head,
He
this
could
is,
say,
hey,
see,
Amy,
here's the
come
text
back
that say
on another
this.
stream.
If there's another situation where Muslims are in a minority status, then they'll appeal to the text of, well, we're all people of the book and we all get along. So it's like, you use it, it's like a weapon. You use it when you need it to be whatever you need it to be. Go ahead, Vril, what's up?
Hey, J Dyer. I've been a fan of the channel for a long time.
Of what?
And what?
A fan of
They
what? I
say
can't hear you.
Amy is
Of
next
your
in
videos.
chat. I don't know about
like,
that.
yeah, like
All
I'm a big
right.
fan, but
This
I
is
just have to
it.
say that
I keep on saying this is it.
That you should accept
They're saying,
the
well, someone
true
said in chat,
Catholic
I'm next. I don't
Orthodox
know if that's
tradition,
true, or it's
which
just
is
someone's just
the
randomly
Watchtower
saying that.
Society of Jehovah's
I kind of
Witnesses.
am agreeing with Clifford.
No, I'm being
So
serious. I'm not a troll.
There's no such thing as the true
What's up,
Catholic.
Sinister?
No
What's
Jehovah's
up,
Witness will
to
call themselves
freak?
Catholic. So
Sending
you're
love.
trolling. Red pill, come back. What's up? He was
Wait, did he
trolling,
just-
but he couldn't say his all.
Did he just let someone in?
True Catholic
That was in
Jehovah's
before.
Witnesses Society, where we don't say the word, we don't pronounce our all.
Wait a second.
What's up, Red pill?
Just, gosh darn it. Okay. When do I start to
Are you
feel
there?
like a sucker in this back and forth? Because
We can't hear you, man. Are you there?
I don't know.
Are you speaking?
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Are you sure? Hello?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Bring the
Okay,
woke
cool.
person in.
So, yeah, so there's been some stuff that's been
Why bring the
discussed. I haven't
person you
listened to
probably
all
agree
of it,
with?
but
Then again,
one
red
thing
pill
I really wanted
invented
to.
by a trans person, coined, I should say.
Ooh,
Isn't
was
that
that
fun?
one verse from
And then they turn it into something
the New Testament?
terrible.
You know, when that girl that was she came up to Jesus and she was like, "Hey,
Okay.
like we need to have."
All right, you're not a serious caller.
Okay, this is it. He brought someone else
Caleb,
up
what's up?
that he said. Did he just say someone?
Hey, Jay. I just want to say that I was forcibly baptized into the Mormon church.
Yo,
and I don't know how to get
He's
out.
getting trolls.
But for
And he
real,
refuses to
I
take me.
appreciate all that you do. I have a couple questions on Catholicism, if that's all right. Is there any dogmatic documents that state that they accept the Aquinas position of absolute divine simplicity?
Well, prior to Aquinas, the Fourth Lateran Council accepts the Lombard definition of simplicity, which
Except
is very
for
strict.
the
It's
fact
an
that I spent it
identity
with you all.
thesis
I will say
version of
that
divine
is not a
simplicity.
waste. The fact that
So
I'm sending love to the
even
skeptic and
prior to
ranting
it's not
community.
really. I
It
mean,
does feel
Aquinas
good
isn't
to
really
be
the issue.
streaming
It's
with
more
you
so
all.
that they accept Lombard, the Fourth Lateran Council,
Okay, very cool. And then
and that's a really strict definition.
sure, okay, that's
Matt
awesome.
Damon.
Is there also anything against the theophanies
They
in the Old
asked
Testament that
Matt
they
and
have? Because I know
Trey
you're
why
super
Matt
big on them,
Damon
and I think
talked
they're
like
super
that
important.
on
So
their
is there
puppet.
anything that the
They
Catholics
said
have
their
that
puppet just looked weird. Their
is
Matt Damon
directly
puppet,
against
so they've made him
that
talk
teaching?
like that.
Well, I mean, it's more so like rather than there being like a dogmatic statement, quote, there is no theophany, it's more so that after the acceptance of that doctrine of simplicity, which you'll have here in Fourth Lateran Council, where they affirm Lombard's view, it's more so that later on people started to struggle with how it was possible. And so by the time of Aquinas, he outright rejects theophanies. So
Okay. All right. Very cool. Awesome.
so
Thanks, Jay.
yes, it's more so the implications of the doctrine rather than like where is the specific dogmatic statement, quote, there are no theophanies. You're not going to
Sure.
get that. You're just going to get like
Mm-hmm.
like I can show you this. There's a paper that I've
I
been
bet you
sharing that's
can.
really good.
A
Where
lot of them.
it's a guy. It's a guy contrasting the Jewish theologian Summers' book versus Aquinas's view on the notion of theophanies.
Okay.
And so here's the paper I recommend.
Aquinas, best known
Let me pull it
for
up.
taking from Plato.
And for those who are curious, it has the
Socrates.
multiple places where Aquinas explicitly rejects the theophanies. It's called Aquinas and Somer on God's Body by Richard Wilson. The paper is available at academia.edu. Now, the other thing I'll say, though, is that technically also, I'm not positive if it's dogmatic in Rome's view, but in the disputes in with Acandinos and Barlium and Palamos, almost all the dispute ends up being about the theophanies and the what we participate in.
Okay.
So that turns into a debate about the light of Tabor in Matthew 17. So that's the theophany debate. it's the same debate, right? Because Rome basically says throughout these disputes, it has to be a creative
Can't help
light
it. Their chat is
that
also.
emanating
I
from
just
Jesus
want to
in the
continue
transfiguration. Because it
to
cannot, because in their view, it's either the
point
divine
out
essence
that
or
their
it's a creature.
chat is also
There's no
Right.
middle position there.
making.
So Rome
They're talking about
emphatically
me
states over and
and
over
also
in this
making
dispute
jokes. I forget. I know this
that it's
person is
creative.
trolling, but
I don't know if there's like a dogmatic statement that it is, except
my
that.
point is
What's
that he knows that I'm in there.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Something else popped on. But I mean, it's basically the necessary conclusion of the doctrine of their doctrine of simplicity.
All
Does that
right.
make sense?
Yeah. I've just been arguing with some of my Catholic friends on different things, and you know how they are with all their legalistic type stuff. Very Protestant in the way that they just need every reference for everything.
Oh my God. I can't do it. I love them. I will listen to theology for hours, but without an ability to respond, even ask questions, we're just watching a sermon. So I love you, my skeptic and ranting community, our skeptic and ranting community. We waited in line for 2 hours and didn't even get the coffee, didn't even rent the movie, didn't even get to snoo. Oh my goodness. But I don't know what else to do since I don't think he's gonna talk with us tonight. And it's hard to have a conversation with just one person. And when it's just you being talked to and it's a presuppositionalist, he had a less monotone version of Darth Dawkins. That's what presuppositionalism is. Well, I love all my theist brothers and sisters. I'm trying to look at chat, but I think we just have disagreements on this one thing. This one thing I do think causes lots of trouble in society. I think that it ends up having a double-edged sword to the positive. So you could say it makes community, but it also creates a us and them. It allows you to believe that you will live on after death, but it means that there's the possibility that people will do terrible things thinking that they will live on. And so the goal is to actually replace those, to make all healthy alternatives for community, for group activities. We need to figure out for morality. I'll continue to say that atheists, agnostics, we're really the only people that have any trench in morality, because theists think they've done the hard work because they say, well, God did it. What God says goes. But if you give them any hard moral quandary, it becomes God works in mysterious ways. But we're not supposed to understand that. And so it doesn't matter if you believe in moral objectivism or if you're a moral relativist. We're the only people in town because we're the only people that can really talk about it without bringing someone else in, someone who we can't prove is in the conversation. But now I'm just starting to do a sermon. So let's, I guess, tuck you all out here. It has been a lovely time. I guess I'll try to go on his stream again. I'm going to title this like Waiting in Line or something. But like, I don't give up that easy. And, I'm not going to be sour about it. He probably has a bunch of people, I'm sure. And just means you got to come on the next time. And let me tell you, God ain't showing up anytime soon, it seems. And so I guess that means we're not going anywhere either. And all right, I'm going to send out some love because you all have been with us. Judith, Nathan, Clifford, DeFreak, Sumami, Porpoise, Victoria. I know there was some new friends also. Sending love to like ARB and Fenton, sending love to everybody out there. Blaster Master. Otto was another one. Even if you disagree with us, you are part of the skeptic and ranting community, because all you got to do to be part of it is be a skeptic. And I guess we'll send some love out. James W. is safe-ish. He's in it. We're getting to a good place. I know he is at least responded, and we'll have updates soon from him. We're going to have continued more good content. I have a fantastic weekly planner in effect. This will sound so arbitrary and so random, but like I feel like I'm going to get my day job way more organized. I have this new weekly planner in effect and all sorts of things. And so I'm going to hope that it's going to give me free time. And then my professorship, I'm going to be teaching instead of on the weekend. I think I'm going to be teaching like a Thursday or one of these days. And so I'm going to have the weekend completely open. And so I want to figure out how to get more content out there. It has been great. Go check out the last stream we did yesterday of Randolph Richardson and Ix and Taco and everybody. Planet Peterson. Probably missing someone, but I'm sending love to everybody. Hard to get free time. Exactly. That sometimes exists. Oh my God. Porpoise. I had someone tell me that CSS was a grand conspiracy by the Jews. And I was like, that is so very specific. And like, I feel like if you shouted that in a crowd, no one would understand what they were saying. There'd be a few people with glasses over to the side going, oh my God, what even is this timeline sometimes? Anyway, 175 Midwest goodbyes. I am so bad. I'm going to say, all right, we got 5 minutes and then 5 minutes after that. But like after those 5 minutes, you have to have like the extra 5 minutes, like your ice cream 5 minutes that you find room for after you had dinner. Yes, it probably would. I feel like if that's right. The Jews have purposely created a way not only so that you can color your documents, but so they can control the world. How do they do that? By allowing you to color multiple documents at once. We haven't quite worked that out yet, but it's evil. Just know that. Yes, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Hit that bell icon. You know who's awesome? The mods are awesome. Sending love to everybody out there on Twitter/X. I hope that you do stay on here. Once again, even if you disagree with me, you have a home here because we are about talking and debating and just having a good time. Like I was saying earlier, I think my two things politically is I'm a big freedom and a small compassion. I feel like that the compassion is a good one that links up, but I want you to say whatever you want, even if it's harmful to me. I just think you should be nice to each other. I think that's the better thing to do. What are we saying? Follow, subscribe, all that. You can become a member on Twitch and YouTube and get our evolving badge system. Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about. I really had good notes. Okay, once again, it's so funny. He was doing like that trip up thing. He did a very human thing. All right, he asked at the very last thing, "What was my last argument?" And it does. It's like a parlor trick because in the moment it's embarrassing, and it does. It makes you look like, "Oh my God, what were you saying?" But actually, it's because we're humans. It's a complicated argument. Could you imagine like going through something like the transcendental argument without taking either notes or having done it before? And so people flub. The reason why I get around this isn't because I'm a super genius. No, it's because I was an idiot many times, and now I write things down and I have notes. I could have he talked about being Solomon as one of these first prophets. We could have talked about him. I wanted to challenge the notion of prophets. Nonetheless, he had brought up the transcendental argument. We could have went into tag. That led really to him talking about evolution. I wanted to talk about evolution because he talked about how natural theology was horse shit and you shouldn't be a Catholic and all this stuff. So he's really taking a pot shot at scientific theists. Like, he has this cheery tone to him, but what he is saying in essence is, come on, be this real Orthodox Christian. We're the guys who are actually practicing it, and you shouldn't follow this evolution nonsense, this science nonsense, this natural theology if we just keep on going back and back and back. I have priests up to the side here because that really is tied to the transcendental and what he went into it. But he just basically, in answering my question, just gave me that. And then when I went on my way for 93 minutes, how did animals come about was what I wanted to ask him, because they don't seem to have good logistics. Religion sucks at logistics. And so I'd like to know how. I know that it's like Adam walked about and God, and they were like having like a BFF day, and they're like, this one's gonna be called a giraffe because I like that it goes giraffe. But like Noah and all the others, like, it just doesn't make sense how all of those animals not only survived, but then the rain is what made it that they were meat eaters. I don't know if you all knew that. It wasn't original sin. No, Adam and Eve fucked up, and all the other animals were perfectly fine, except the snake. Picky, picky, picky. But it wasn't till rain. Noah fucked everything up for this, not him, but God fucked everything up for all the other animals. And then I had genes randomly mutate because I was preparing to talk about evolution, but that never came up, and once saved, always saved is my anchor. And so I could have went into maybe one or two of his arguments if he asked me that question. That Muslim dude was not an idiot. He was, you just run into that situation over and over and over again. Nonetheless, take notes, boys, girls, and everyone in between. Yes. What was the name of that stream? It was like, everyone come challenge me, but Amy Newman. I'm just teasing. He did let me in for the 1 second where I think people were doing lawn mowing in the back of my house, and I have noise canceling headphones. And so I found that out at the end, and he did not bring me. Maybe that's why he didn't, but people were shouting my name, and I'm pretty sure also, I'd have to check back, but at the end of his question, it was good quality sound, and we were having a conversation, and I don't know, folks. We will never know because we were waiting in line, having a good time with all of you. Let's see if there's any other skeptic online right now so I could truly send you off. Because you called this a Midwestern goodbye. I can't help myself. There is no one really live right now. You should go watch Ember's content. You should go watch The Line, Matt Dillahunty and Arden and all the fantastic people over there. You should go watch Taco. Taco has fantastic. He's been tackling. What I love about Taco is the satire can't leave his voice, and yet he's been doing it now over and over that they can't help themselves. Like, they debate him as if I don't know if it's a dog whistle, like only atheists and agnostics can hear Taco have this like the little condescension that Taco has in his voice is satire. He does that because to be a pre-supper, you have to have a little condescension. I think that just comes with the card. I think you're like, oh, I'm going to sign up for presuppositional apologetics. I'm not going to defend my beliefs, and I'm an asshole. I'm sure there's a nice presup out there, but yes, go check out his content. Go check out everyone's. T-Jump, Randolph, SpeedOfSound. We're running on fumes, folks. This has been a lovely stream. In a second, say goodbye, and I'll say goodbye to you. But we will have many more, and I will see you all in the next episode. I can only imagine. I'm sending so much love to live chat. I will see you all. Send love to James W. We will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night. La, 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 la. Good night. I love you all. Mwah.